have a lot of good. Oh, you're gonna hit me. Did you send it to me? Yeah, thanks. Um, so we'll hold on for her because she's going to read the rules. And for those of you here, there she is. So she'll read the rules. It's hard to believe I'm going to say this, but this is our last meeting of the year. So we'll see everybody in the new year after this. It's been a great year. I think before the director reads the kind of rules, I want to welcome our newest member, and Joyce and I are going to welcome you here. Isabella McKnight, for the first time in a while, we now have a full commission. So we're really happy about that. So thank you to the director for her leadership and stewardship to fill the commission now with, I think in this new administration, we've got 3 amazing new members in Erica, 2 who you came in this administration, but you did. So now we have 3 new members, so welcome. And, I'll say that historically, I've been on the commission for quite a while, more than 15 years. And we have always had expertise on the commission in land use and land use law. And that is the experience that Isabella brings to the city. She's also a resident of the city of Cleveland. We'll have her tell a little bit about herself. It is really a kind of capability and important component of all we do, because a good chunk of what the Planning Commission does is really look at legislation and a whole host of issues that require some advice around land use law. So we thank you for that. And we'll have Joyce talk next, and then maybe you say a little bit about yourself before we start the meeting.
So I'm just so pleased to have Isabella join us. She received a degree from Oberlin College in Environmental Studies and Sustainability. She has a JD as well as a master's in urban planning. So there are so many elements to her background that fits the goals of the administration with regard to sustainability, decarbonization, the future of our cities, as well as of course her expertise in land use law, which the chair enumerated. And we're just excited to have you, Ward 15 resident on the far west side, and we're happy to have you in Cleveland, happy to have you in the Planning Commission.
Do you want to say anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you both so much. I'm so excited to be here and to be serving the city in this capacity. You both touched on my background in sustainable development, and then my work the past several years as a commercial real estate and land use attorney here in Cleveland. So thank you for the warm welcome, and I look forward to 2024.
Sure. Welcome. Director? There you go.
Well, welcome all. It's great to see a packed room, and we're excited to have you. I'm going to go ahead and read the preamble as well as the procedures of the commission so that you're all aware of how we'll move through the agenda. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Recusals from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself. Before you speak, or when finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comments on a particular matter. Proper channels for comments are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by Wednesday, 12 p.m. deadline, by the Wednesday 12 p.m. deadline are collected by the city planning staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Proper channels for public comment: sending an email to the cityplanning@clevelandohio.gov address with a comment or letter, calling and or leaving a message at 216-664-2210, sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall, 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 501. Next, I'll talk a little bit about the meeting rules and procedures. So the chair is the facilitator of this meeting. She or the chair that's named will call each agenda item, and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask planning staff to summarize design review committee recommendations and any public comments received. As noted, the deadline for public comments is noon on Wednesday prior to any regular scheduled city planning commission meeting. Any received comments are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff, if applicable. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to call the December 15th meeting to order. Can you call the roll, Michael?
Anthony.
Present.
Booker.
Present.
Curry.
Present.
Trey Scott.
Present.
McKnight.
Present.
Sergeant.
Present.
Slight. Chairman Scott.
Okay. Do we know if Councilman Slight is coming? He will be. Okay.
He's at his child's Christmas cabin right now. Will be joining us on Instagram.
Those are proper priorities right there. Okay, so first order item is to approve the minutes from the December 1st meeting. They are here. We've had them in advance. I've had a chance to review them if anybody needs them, but we'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
Madam Chair, I approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony.
Same.
Booker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Trey Scott.
Yes.
McKnight.
Abstain.
Sergeant. Yes.
A motion carries. First item is a lot split and consolidation. These are a number of permanent parcel numbers. I'm going to read just one of them and then the remaining ones. It's 003-10-122, -123, 124, 125, 126, 121, 120, 118, and 119. Not sure why we didn't go 118 through, but that's a whole other story. This is the south side of Herman Avenue near West 54th Street. Michael Horton, are you here from Horton? Oh, there you are. Yes. Go ahead. I think we have your slides too. Yep. And it just for the record, you can sit, but actually if you stand over here, if you don't mind standing, you'll end up on TV, which will be nice. Right there is good. Yeah, come over there.
Morning, Commissioner members. Michael Horton with Horton Harbor Architects. We present a 5-unit townhouse project on Herman Avenue. Present the removal of hospital consolidation. Parcel is much different for trees. West 49th Street. As you see on the screen, which will show the neighborhood. Next slide. So closer view. What we're proposing is currently the parcel is split into 9 individual parcels. It was previously split for a project that was canceled. It was an 8-unit townhouse project, 2 buildings. So 8 parcels for the individual townhomes that was simple, and then 1 seem to be shared parcel, presumably some kind of HOA. You can see some of the context along the street. There's a cluster of single-family homes as well as even single townhomes and apartment buildings. Next slide. This is the current split for the parcel. See, there's a driveway access to the east, that shared driveway that then splits for the middle to create driveway and garage access for the previously proposed 8 townhome units. We're proposing to split that into 5 individual parcels for 2 single-family townhouse style homes in front and a single 3-unit townhouse building in the back. Slide. Proposing 1 curb cut to access all 5 units. That's split along the center of the parcel with a pedestrian walkway alongside of the shared driveway to access and create connection to the rear parcels. Slide. This gives you an idea of what that looks like on the ground floor for all 5 parcels. They each have 3 bay or room for 3 garages, which would give a total of 15 off-street parking spaces with 1 shared curb cut. Great for the one-way traffic along Clement Avenue. An idea of mass and scale of the project. Slide. Let's get an idea of scale of the project. All 3-story townhomes that range in square footage to around 1,800 and 2,200 square feet. They all have outdoor patio spaces, but they won't be on the rooftop as some of these townhomes. They're actually on the 2nd floor, so they can be directly adjacent to the main living space on the 2nd floor.
Quick question, you refer to these as units, go back, how many units total? In
5.
5. So these are 5 fee simple, basically,
Correct.
I would be on town.
Right, and it's a townhouse development,
Development.
but technically the front 2 are single.
Or single family, got it, I just was confused, okay, understand. Commission members, any questions or comments? Can you go back to the lot split or the site plan? Probably the site plan for me, yeah, maybe, no, no. The parcel one, the new proposed, nope, that's the old one.
This is the old one.
Yeah, the new one.
The 5 one.
So I have a technical question. The center line of the parcels go down the middle of the road, right? So the center line, so if you were to overlay this, okay, I see it. The reason I bring this up is that, and I know you're gonna have easements because we'll require them, but we do require for these kind of like muse projects that there is public walkway, like I saw you have a sidewalk that gets visitors to the back,
Yes.
but they're technically walking on someone's private property, which is problematic. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like so understand what I'm saying, like you're basically the unit 2 and 1 and 2, you're gonna have the public traversing their private property, even though it might be part of the easement situation, because the sidewalk in the rendering, right? You're actually showing it up against someone's, right there. So private property. Will all of that be in the easement zone?
Yes.
Okay. It will. And
Yeah, so it's treated the same way as the shared driveway.
driveway. So people will always have access vehicularly, and that'll be written in there. And then I guess my second question is there a way to, and does the staff have access to this? Is it all written? Have you submitted it?
No.
Okay, that will need to be a condition. And also, when you get to the back, is there any way to consider some change of pavement back in the sidewalk? So it extends all the way back?
Correct, so the driveway will have, it's not shown here, it has been showed in later versions. We have to present this to planning.
Right.
And we review the townhouse code. In other renderings that we showed to the city, the pedestrian walkway will have a different paving
All the way.
pattern. And then that will connect directly to the center unit and it splits off. So-
Got it. I like it. All right. Those are mine.
Madam Chair, considering that there's precedent for this type of split, I actually live like this in my home, where the property lines extend beyond the driveway and we have a common use agreement. I think since we're just here for a lot split, I think what they have there is reasonable. I therefore move to approve the split as presented. Because this is not, we're not reviewing the design.
Right.
Correct.
Would you just add that they're required to submit, since they haven't done it yet, we do require that they submit. Before she can sign off of it, she needs to see the legal, these sort of documents.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I will amend my motion to include that said documents concerning easements and any access use or egress use agreements be in place as a part of this condition.
Second.
Motion second. Any further comments, questions? It's a great project, by the way, really. I like it much better than the other lot split. I don't know, we obviously approved that, so we'll take credit for that not so great way of looking at it, but this is much, much better. A lot more room, less dense impacted, so thank you. All right, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Hurley,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent. Yes.
Motion carries. We're into design review. We're starting with Far West. This is FW 2023-020. Warren Road Apartments, new construction. This is seeking final approval at 3272 Warren Road. Brandon Young or anybody else that's here to speak to this, I'll need to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Note to the commission members that we did see this on October 20th and gave schematic approval to this project. And there were some design review comments at that time. So if you could address those in terms of what you've done to address those previous comments, we can go fairly quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the comments were on the design review, which we did receive approval last week, was around the tree preservation and really accounting for some of the larger trees that are on the property. We actually met Jennifer Kipp on site at the property this last week as well. But going back to the approval, one comment that they did have was a strong recommendation to keep the one oak tree in the very back part of the property line. So if you go over to the site plan, I can point it out. Or even the landscape plan near the end. So the dry detention pond in the rear, there is a tree that's located at that far section of the property line. It wasn't a requirement from design review because we're still working through how large and the details of that pond, but a strong recommendation on being able to save that tree if possible. And then in addition to that, we met with Jennifer Kipp, as I mentioned, to look at 2 or 3 other trees on the lot that aren't directly in sight of the vertical buildings, but would be where the patios are at on the section facing St. Mary's. So to keep some of that canopy, looking into how we're going to save 2 or 3 of the trees on that site where the rest of them were in poor condition and in the location of the construction will be torn down. But I'm doing what we can to preserve those.
Yeah, so then I will add, we also met with, I'm Brandon Young with Young Design Studio.
You say your name.
Yes, Anthony Fiorini with Maverick Building Co.
We also met with the fire marshal. His comments were in regards to the entry drive, have a larger turning radius for fire trucks, as well as the turning radius into the parking lot back. Additional comments were in regards to the sidewalk, doing, like, it's a curve, raised S-curve with a 2-foot sidewalk on each side, so we can address that. As well as the entry drive having lighting, so we do have a photometric plan that we brought to the design review committee, as well as the 2 street lights that we have shown in the parking.
Just because I don't remember this, can I just see the facade? Just for me. I don't recall seeing, okay. Commission member, any questions or comments, or do you want to see any additional
Yeah.
slides?
Madam Chair, to the applicant, and I guess just in general, from a procedural standpoint, relative to tree preservation. I know we get caught up in seeing where trees and buildings might align, but it's a little more complicated than that. Because if you're impacting grade and you have heavy equipment driving within the drip line, so there really needs to be a plan, if we're really serious about this, should be submitted so that you can demonstrate how that is executed, because it's all in the execution. Because at the end of the day, trees will die, not tomorrow, not the next year, but after a couple of years, they could potentially fall in a state of disrepair. So I just wanted to be clear about that comment relative to relationship of buildings to trees.
Sure, and to address that, so that was submitted to Jennifer. We met on site this past week to go through it, so there's still, a few questions on it, but it was submitted and we have the overlays of the site plan, where those numbers are at on respective to the buildings and the current trees that are there, and an Excel sheet documenting each tree, stating which ones we are taking down and which ones we are intending to preserve.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
Did you all mention that you had a 2-foot sidewalk, if I heard that correctly?
It's a 3-foot sidewalk plus a
2-foot rolling curve.
2-foot low curve.
So one of the comments around that was how we were going to create the walking space, but also the size of the lot and how large that street was. So we had some comments between design review to either expand the driveway with a shorter sidewalk, or either removing the sidewalk. And the other option was, well, if we shrink it and do a 2-foot rolling curb plus the 3-foot sidewalk, that'll allow for pedestrians to walk up and down the neighborhood, but also giving enough space for the street. It is a private road. It will not be dedicated. So it will be maintained through the HOA or the property management. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I wanted to check with staff. Dave, do you have any further comments to add this time?
Morning, everybody, all West Side Planner. No real further comment, just a probably a point of clarity on the motion. We've not had quorum, so it was a recommendation to approve 4-0. But the main concerns were just the tree preservation plan. And then there were some suggestions about using some different type of treatments on the sidewalk and the driveways, using some sort of paper or something like that. That was just a suggestion. So the main concern has just been the tree preservation plan.
Madam Chair, a motion to approve as presented.
A second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Ray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carried. Too bad Councilman Slide isn't here since it's in his ward, but we'll relay the message to him.
So I will say that I forgot to mention.
He's in
shares
support,
with some
right?
support.
I think he did last time too.
Yes, he did.
Madam Chair, before we move on, I was just thinking about the first motion I made for the lot split. And I wanted to be clear about what, my intent was, at least. Yes, there should be an easement. However, if you enforce an easement before the design is done, you might have to revisit it if it's recorded. So I would think that gets brought along concurrently and not separately.
Right. I think for ours is just to make sure that is to have some checks that these don't come through and people haven't thought about snow removal, trash removal, blocking, so that we're not creating a situation where the people in the back, so that they do that check. I think that's really the goal.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next item is, thank you, is Far West 2023-027, Breakwater Residences, new construction. This is thematic design approval, 5901 and 6001 Breakwater. Paul, anyone else to speak to this?
So I believe Chantal Marie with Turndev Development should be online, and I think representative from Edge Landscape Architects is also on.
Okay, so I'll swear you all in, even online, together. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury? Okay.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Again, my name is Paul Glowacki. I'm with Dimmitt Architects. Appreciate your time this morning. We did present this project about maybe a few weeks ago for conceptual approval. I know some of the board members were here, so I will go through some of this briefly as a background and then hone in on the items that we kind of discussed as items that we're going to be updating. So project is located in the near west side, far west side design district, just south of Edgewater Yacht Club and Park, south of the Shoreway, in the Detroit Shoreway neighborhood, located between West 58th to the east, West 65th to the west, and Breakwater Avenue just to the north there. To the south, Herman Park, and a kind of arching tree line you can see is actually following an old rail line there that has been gone for many years, and is actually, I think, going to be owned by the city. There is a proposal for that rail line to become a park, which will hopefully be a great amenity to this project, to the site. And that will bring tenants or people from Herman Park up to Edgewater Park as a connector. Currently, the site is home to a number of industrial buildings and a brick building on Breakwater, all part of Premium Metals industrial complex. So a number of warehouses and just like I mentioned, office building there on Breakwater. Just some adjacent pictures around the site. So to the north, we have the Edison done by NRP. We were lucky to be a part of that project back in 2013, 2015. So we're very familiar with the neighborhood. Just to the east of us on the corner of West 58th and Breakwater, another project that we just finished up with the Kruger Group, an apartment building. And then some pictures of Herman Park to the south, and just the street Breakwater heading east. An aerial showing the Edison to the north, really just to kind of show the scale of the properties on the north side of Breakwater, as we'll be respecting those proposed project in the south. And then some additional photos of Herman Park from the south. Next slide, please. This is a new slide, really something I don't think we addressed well enough, and really was part of comments from the Far West Design Review Committee, was really the scale of this the apartment building that we're proposing towards Herman Park. So we went out on site. We actually did have a tree preservation plan. We have that in here as well, but wanted to have some images here to show the view from Herman Park towards our site and show the existing tree line that exists there today. And the tree preservation plan will, I think, support a number of trees that will be able to remain that are really part of the city property and not part of this project property. Some highlights in the upper photos is that rail line that's still, the rail is still there, and then kind of showing the trees are really on the south side of that rail line. Next slide. So here's, we have a survey done of the existing trees. Obviously, the existing site itself really doesn't have a lot of trees. It's mostly industrial buildings. With the demolition of those buildings, you can see we've X'd out the trees that August spoke to. Really, the tree line, the drip line are all going to be affected by that demolition. But what I think is really shown here nicely is there's a number of large trees, actually quite a few of them, south of the site on the city's property. So obviously, we would not be affecting any of those trees, and really will kind of stay in perpetuity as the project gets developed. Next slide, please. So this just has an overlay of the proposed buildings, to kind of just showing, obviously, none of those trees currently on the site would be able to remain. Maybe a couple over to the southwest. We're proposing a little bit of a green area on the site. Next slide, please. Just a quick zoning information slide. This really is just saying that we're not proposing any zoning variances. I think we will have one small one based on a rear lot line setback. I can show when we get to the site plan. Next slide, please. So here's the proposed site plan. And what we are proposing is a number of townhomes along Breakwater and a 5-story apartment building. So that's 4 stories of apartments over a structured parking garage on the first floor. And what we've done is really, this site has kind of multiple frontages. So of course, Breakwater, we're seeing as our main frontage, but there is, this really kind of benefit to the site, and hopefully back to the city. We have the south elevation of this building, which really also becomes a frontage as it kind of opens out on Spring Park. So the current proposed plan is for 14 townhomes. We actually have one more townhome than when we first came to you. As we've increased the height of those townhomes based on some comments from the previous Far West committee, and then the apartment building. So the apartment building only has a small frontage on Breakwater and kind of really is tucked back into the back part of the site. And so just on Breakwater, we are fronting at least that portion with common amenities for the building. And really on Breakwater, we're kind of refocusing with the leasing offices and probably some breakout spaces for tenants to be able to go down and use like office space down there as well. That's kind of the main component that happens on Breakwater. Also, from the previous design, we had fronted the townhomes closer to the lot line. We've pulled those off, and really, there's a couple of reasons that we've done that. Obviously, the Far West Design Reviews Committee comments, but it helps create a small lawn in front of these townhomes. It's a little bit more respectful of some of the townhomes across the street on Breakwater for the Edison project. It also allows for the possibility of some large electrical infrastructure that's happening along the street to remain. If it can't go away, the hope is, and we've seen this on the other projects that we've done on the street already, that those have been buried, and that's really the hope to happen here. But if that were not to happen, we kind of allowed for that. There are also 2 vehicular entries, one just to the west of the apartment building, and then one all the way to the far west of the site. Is the second vehicular entry. So there is some surface parking behind those townhomes, and that's kind of the vehicular entries for that parking, and of course the parking garages. We have 2 entrances to the parking garage itself. We added a second one to the west of the site for Far West Design Reviews comments, which will hopefully break down the amount of cars that are coming into each particular entry kind of a little bit more equally, kind of spread that out. Additionally, as we have these 2 breaks in the site for the car entries, we are proposing a couple of nodes in the overall plan that are not just parking garage and the face of the parking garage. And really that's so as you're walking down Breakwater and you look into the site, you're not looking at that parking garage face. So kind of on that inside corner, that is more of the tenant entry. So we have package drop off, mail room, those types of amenities there. We're also showing on the outside in that little parking area a place for like Uber pickup, like Lyft, any like drop offs for like Uber Eats, that type of thing can all kind of happen in that one node. To the very far west of the site, where we have that second vehicular entry, we're proposing bike storage and a dog wash area. So those are kind of amenities that we think will kind of be more related to going over to Edgewater Park. So you can kind of come in there, drop off your bike, clean up your dog, go up to your apartment. The south, if you can hold on that slide. So on the south of the building, we also are really, we re-envisioned a bit of it, and some of it stayed the same. So we have to the east, kind of the major amenities for the site, club room, fitness, kind of all those amenities that tenants can, use. And then obviously a large outdoor space with a pool, patio. There's a little outdoor pagoda out there for like an outdoor kitchen. So a lot of amenities for the tenants. And as we move to the west of the site, we had previously mounted the landscaping up to the garage, kind of to create a buffer of that wall of the garage. And there was a bit of a concern about the mass of this building and how it relates a little bit more to the Herman Park. And so we've re-envisioned that. We've created patios actually for those apartments. I think there's 7, 8, 9 apartments there that will have patios that actually walk out. We are still going to have that mounting of the topography there to come down to and create a little bit more of that softness as a buffer between the building and then Herman Park. But creating a lot more connections directly from the building for tenants. I think it's a great amenity for tenants, honestly. But also, I think, fronts Herman Park a little bit nicer than previous to that. Next slide. Just some building plans so you can kind of see the overall as we go up the floors. We're talking about a lot of balconies on a number of sides of the building. Obviously, it's going to have great views to the north towards the lake, and really the way the building sits kind of over the top of the Edison. And then to the east, actually, of downtown Cleveland. Some enlarged plans of those amenity areas. Next slide, please. Again, another enlarged plan of that rear amenity area. Slide, please. And then these are the landscape plans. I'm going to turn this over to Edge Landscape Architects. I kind of talk about the overall landscaping plan, but also I think only a little bit on those changes that we made in the last session.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. My name is Drew Russell. I'm with Edge. Thank you, Commission, for allowing us to present today. Wanted to mention a couple kind of modifications that we made since we've been in last. Paul mentioned the townhomes along Breakwater, and now that we are pulling those a little bit further back off the right of way, he mentioned that what that does is allows us to have some private front lawn spaces. We've also established, or we're showing a vegetative hedge along the backside of the sidewalk to help kind of define those private versus public spaces. And it creates a nice streetscape and consistency down Breakwater to work with the street trees and street lighting. Along the back side or the south side of the building where we're fronting Herman Park, we understand the sensitivity of those existing trees on our property. And unfortunately, as Paul mentioned, a lot of those will have to go with the demolition of the building. But as you can see on this plan, what we're trying to do is replace some of that tree canopy by providing new trees on that southwestern corner there, creating kind of a little bit more naturalized area, especially with the anticipation of the future bike path kind of following along the southern property line there and kind of enhancing that naturalized park space. Other than that, we've really tried to provide a lot of plants to kind of work with the architecture of the buildings and provide some screening around the patio space and amenity areas. I'll turn it back over to Paul.
That's great. I think a couple of items that came up also last time. We talked about EV parking spaces inside of the building. So we are showing those on our site plan now. We have a number of EV spaces inside the building. Also, I don't know how much we can really control this, but at least showing an area for scooters to be able to be, kind of corralled into like one area. We're showing that on our plan as well. And then we did mention along the eastern portion of the site, we are about 20 feet, 25 feet to the neighboring warehouse building. It's a storage building kind of on the back of that apartment complex right at the corner of West 58th and Breakwater. So we did want to kind of green up that space that's at least on our property. And obviously we'll talk to the neighboring owners about hopefully kind of carrying that over. But really to, as an amenity for the tenants that have apartments on that side of the building, but also to create a little bit of screening where that building kind of pops out on Breakwater. Couple of slides. Just some site amenities, nothing written in stone here. We haven't done a photometrics plan, but just to kind of talk about parking lighting and then really low level lighting for the remainder of the site for any assets. Slide. Just some images of some amenities for that pool area. Next slide, please. This is just a Northeast Ohio Sewer District check the box on the commission. Next slide, please. So getting into the architecture of the building. So when we last met, we really kind of talked about the industrial nature of this site of this neighborhood is really there's not much left. There's a few vestiges to the old industrial buildings that were there. So we had kind of taken this approach of recreating some of these, we really like this brick office building, kind of recreating that in the apartment building. And also this kind of framework that happens around the site, these steel beams and columns. We had done that, I think, in maybe a little bit more industrial language, high beams and columns and beams. And we've refined that, and really based on a number of comments from design review, to be more of the architecture of the building, creating frameworks for actual items on the building. So we've worked through that. I think it shows a little better in the 3D, but we just wanted to kind of show some context photos with the apartment building there. This slide is just showing a few more of the elevations. So the one on the top is looking into the parking area. I think we've added a number of balconies, even on this inside parking area. If you go to the next slide, you'll see some more of those balconies. The way that we did it is really kept those balconies a little bit higher with the top to kind of see over the townhomes, but also a variety of balconies. You can see across the top, we have real, kind of like 4 or 5 foot deep balconies. And then Juliet's, again, kind of focused around those areas where we have the drive aisle entries. So again, as you're looking into the site, those kind of amenities look out at I would say the only thing on that last slide, just as we're the lower right corner there, I think there was an ask for a little bit more brick on the south side of the building as we're looking towards Herman. So we've added a little bit there. But you can also start to see those patios for the apartments starting to show up in the topography kind of coming up the south side of the building. Next slide. So this is the south side of the building looking towards Herman. This probably looks very different from what we had previously shown. We were doing a number of things to kind of trying to break down the scale of that apartment building, that facade. Previously with just kind of some material changes. I think the patios for the apartments really helps kind of create almost this townhome aesthetic along the western portion of the building. But if you look to the top, we really created a little bit more massing of 3 buildings looking towards Herman Park. And I think that'll show nicely in some of the renderings. So next slide, please. This is also an added slide. So we really wanted to show that the treescape from Herman towards the building. So the middle there, you kind of see it without, kind of if you were on the path. And then the bottom one is looking from Herman. There's a little bit of artistic interpretation here, but the scale of these trees is really what we took from that tree survey. Next slide, please. So I think the other big change that we made was to the townhomes. Previously, we had a 2-story townhome. We were doing a little bit more with like first floor living, which I think was really appreciated by both Planning Commission and Far West. And so we wanted to still incorporate the idea of first floor living, but increase the scale of the townhomes to 3 stories, as they seemed a little bit diminutive to the overall scale of Breakwater Avenue. And so the way that we've done that, you can see a section on the upper left there. We're proposing kind of like this lofted living space. So the living room will actually be like 1.5 stories, 2 stories. You still have a lot of that, eyes on the street, but now kind of, creating a more traditional 3-story townhome with, parking and a little bit of living on the first floor, and then the bedrooms up on the 3rd floor. And then we would also be proposing roof decks. We feel this actually helps the architecture of the townhomes in quite a number of ways. That arch that we had kind of previously shown is now anchored onto the massing of the townhome, which I think gives it a little bit more solidity. It still creates that, very distinct entry to each townhome. It also allows for the possibility of, if the master bedroom on the third floor, they can have a little balcony there. It actually creates a little bit of screening from unit to unit. Next slide, please. Just an overall elevation of breakwater. So in the smaller scale, we're showing the full, the existing apartment building all the way to the left, the new proposed apartment building, and then the townhomes in the three building layouts there. Next slide, please. And then some 3D renderings of how we, are schematically envisioning this. Not a lot of change, obviously, to the apartment building, but I would say the kind of major item that we took from design review was to incorporate that framework more into the actual skin of the apartment building. So we're looking at using like an ACM metal panel build out instead of, kind of steel beams and structure. And then also really having those frame the balconies for those 2 units. So on this front side, obviously there's 3 balconies there. And then as you go over to the next slide, you can kind of see it in the background. But looking west, there would also be 3 balconies there. So that framework is now actually creating not just a visual, but also like a structural element for those balconies. Again, the townhomes as they kind of step down Breakwater Avenue. You can see in a couple of these renderings, the little peaks into the site from particular entries. So again, bringing some of that brick material into the.
I think you can move a little more quickly, just
Sure.
because design review, I mean.
So kind of the last slide we can kind of, I can get on this actually, is just showing that landscaping along the south side of the building and then the overall massing of the apartment building and the amenities.
Okay, thank you. And just a quick question, maybe to staff first before I open it up. Just curious, who's the staff lead on this one?
That'll be Nate Lowe.
Nate, just can you explain the one no vote?
Yes, the one no vote was specifically in reference to the height of the building. They felt that it was too large and overshadowed the park.
You mean the overall, the apartment building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments?
I have a couple of questions. Well, maybe I should do the chair to the director. I know in the site plan, it shows the trail and the applicant mentioned about that being operated by the city. Do you have a sense of the timeline for when that may be operable?
We are still doing internal discussion about that, but it's very much on our radar.
Okay.
So no definitive.
And then a general question, just, kind of assessing some of the comments coming from design review and even questions from the commission. When an applicant comes to the city, what is required from a tree preservation standpoint? Like, is there some type of checklist of things that they should be aware of as they're developing their plans?
There is, so there is a codified ordinance around tree plan. Interestingly, it probably happens after design review,
Okay.
Based on how it's, it's kind of listed in our legislation, but we're working very closely with urban forestry to see if we might move that in the review process. And there is an application that has various requirements for submission.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what I was curious as to what. And then one question to the applicant, and this is actually a good view to ask this question. So can you just help me understand from a safety perspective? I know there's obviously the perimeter of the trees along the back end of that apartment, but just, what safeguards, I guess, are put in place to allow the residents of that apartment, not to perhaps have outside individuals, uninvited individuals coming into the property?
Sure. So there's not really any fencing that's proposed except for obviously around the pool as a state code. The only I would say hard deterrent is going to be their front door, blocking, security, that type of thing. Obviously, there's a number of apartments in the Edison project actually walk right out into Breakwater as well, and we kind of handle it the same way. We had looked at, the idea of putting in, fencing or gates to those, and it just didn't really seem to fit with kind of the language of the other.
And I believe you said you were also finalizing the lighting plan. That might be another component to think
Yeah.
about. Some motion detected lighting,
Yes.
particularly for the evening. I don't know how late the pool's gonna be open, but I imagine at least in the summer, they'll probably be open a little bit later.
Yeah.
Just so folks are aware and have visibility.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed on the site plan, but we are proposing right off the bat, kind of building in these sidewalks into our plan, knowing that the city, it may take some time for that, that path to be created, so to make sure that that kind of happens up front. And I think that also is gonna deter people, because that'll be a little bit more, we'll have like that public walk and have a little bit more of that private walk. for example.
Xavier, can you go to the site plan?
Thank you.
I mean, the color. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to commend developer and designer, Madam Chair, for just being cognizant of the fact that although this is a really large site, done really well, breaking up the block and having points of entry between townhomes, and also being respectful of how cars and people move on the site. The only question I have is how, is this just a one season pool, or is it heated? Is it all? Because I know that's sort of the trend now, trying to provide that particular amenity all year round.
I don't know that I can speak definitively to how that's gonna be handled, but I would definitely assume they're gonna wanna keep it open as long as they possibly can. So I think with all the pools that we've been doing, it is impressive that even in Cleveland, it is a pool in every apartment project. They have a lot of heating components to them, so yeah, we would have that infrastructure to have that.
No thanks.
What was that?
I just said no thanks. I'll cut that off on Labor Day. I'm good.
You're not a polar bear?
No.
I would like to make a comment about the height. I'm very satisfied with the height because I do think that with the fronting of the park, you need that eyes on the park type of situation to help with, keeping eyes on the park, but also, if there were a family that would elect to live in a building like this, being able to have that visibility into the park is helpful. So I have no issue with the height and just with the zoning code. Just wanted to put that on the record.
Anybody else? Okay. Any other comments?
Excuse me.
Oh, but you got your scooter partner.
Pardon?
Got your scooter.
I'm trying not to sneeze, or something's causing me to be allergic.
Okay, you're not sick though, are you?
No.
Okay.
I've had 3 COVID tests in the last month.
Okay.
I'm- No, I'm not sick. It's just, it's allergies right now. That, you give me permission to leave?
Yes, no.
Okay. I move to approve the presentation as submitted. It appears that the applicant has addressed the comments by design review and also take into consideration the tree preservation plan that's in place.
Can I, before there's a second, can I ask to my fellow commission members, this is another case for me where it's so far along, it's coming for schematic, they have materials. Does this commission need to hear this again? Your opinion? Would you trust it to staff for the final?
Sure,
details?
I thought the first time was really detailed, to be totally honest.
So my sense is like, we want people to move development forward, and so I'd be comfortable with you changing that to final with details to staff, but if everyone else is.
Sure, I think that's an excellent idea, Madam Chair. So I'd like to amend my initial motion to include that this approval's for final design and that the applicant work with staff to resolve any outstanding issues.
One second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion
Madam
carries.
Chair, can I just ask a question to the
Sure.
director, to your recommendation, Director Wong? So, if an applicant were to come forward and went through the final design review process, I guess, can the city make a recommendation from it to go from conceptual to final, or that has to be under the purview of the planning commission? It has to.
Yes, and basically what happens now is if they were to come back and they can't agree on something, they have to come back to us and we would decide, not the staff. But if they agree on everything and there are no issues and they go back through, she can sign off on it.
Okay.
But it prevents this idea of like, they might come back and they disagree.
Yeah.
We would be they would have to come back.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. One other point of note is sometimes it's at the discretion of the staff, though, of when something, because it's a bit of a gray area, is conceptual, schematic, final. So we trust that they, some projects don't need to come back 3 times, right? So it's really at their discretion and at the development. And sometimes people come in for final approval and they don't have all the materials and all the things and they, aren't ready either. And so their job is actually to prevent things from coming here that aren't ready for us as well. Thank you. Right, a Northeast Design Review. This is the Josephine Triplex Community New Construction Schematic Approval. This is, the project address is on Orville. I'm gonna say, and Lee Avenue, so combination. Scott, are you here from Heart Design? Anyone else online? Just you, all right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm here to present the Josephine, which is going to be a new proposed development that is most housing complex that is scale a total of 20 different units, and it's done for a few different phases. If you'd like to just flip to the next slide. So the existing lots are currently land bank owned properties. The one property that is on the avenue, you see the existing house that is there. That house has also since been demoed. So currently, right now, all the properties are vacant and nothing is housed there. So we are proposing to place. Let's go to the next slide. Again, like I had said, a total of 20 different units. The total, each unit will contain either 3 or 6. And the idea behind that was a design that kind of ties into the existing context of the neighborhood. And by doing so, we've created where the ground floor would be pressed a little bit. So your first floor unit would be below grade, a little bit garden style type apartment. And then there would be a set of stairs that would then take you up to a landing that would take you either to the second floor unit or a door that will take you to a stairway that will take you up to the third floor unit. So each unit has its own entry into the building, providing tenants with just a little bit more privacy, not as much room for larger building where there's a lot of folks kind of walking in each area and such. So what we've done is we've actually placed the buildings up straight on the street. And I do have updated plans. When we went through design review a few weeks ago, they did have some comments, so we have since made some changes to the site plan itself. I'm happy to pass those out, or I can kind of just talk through them with you, whichever.
Pass them out.
Pass them out. You're welcome. So as you'll see, one of the comments from the commission was to kind of give a little bit more of a breakup on the street. So what we did was we actually pulled the middle unit back a little bit off of the street. The outer units are still addressing the street front. And we've also taken and eliminated some of the parking spaces in the back. And what they've asked us to do, and again, this is kind of a little bit, because by the time these are actually built, we would fall underneath the new parking code. Currently, the way they are designed today, we meet the parking code. So they did ask us to evaluate if we could possibly lose some of the parking spaces. So as you'll see, we did lose some of the parking spaces that were along the back side of those units. And we do have the possibility to even lose an additional 4 that are right there, and then fill those other units down even a little bit further. So we're willing to continue to evaluate that, especially as the parking code changes. So again, just providing a little bit more green space and places for people to have their own somewhat personal space. One of the other comments was the unit that is on the avenue to just take and there was a few different discussions back and forth about possibly adding another unit, about possibly looking to somehow not make the unit seem so, where there was a bunch of green space more on the left-hand side. So what we did was, after kind of evaluating it some more and pulling the driveway off of the existing property line a little bit, we originally had the drive in the existing curb cut. We've since moved it over a little bit and put the units more centralized on the lot to, again, pull that driveway off and kind of centralize the green space. We did lose a parking space there, but again, meet current code, we would then just future code even more than there.
Are these rental or for sale?
These would be rentals.
And what's the square footage of the unit?
Each unit is about 700 and they range from 750 to just shy of 800 square.
And they're one
One
bed?
bedroom
They're,
units.
and are they look like they're all exact, it's one unit type everywhere.
One unit type, pretty much throughout the buildings and, so like, because of the way the stairs work, the first floor has a little bit more space because you gain that space underneath where the stair tower would come up. The second floor actually has a little bit less space because, or you
Right.
have that stair there. But what we've taken and
Are you
done,
classifying these as townhomes?
no, they would be, they're, just residents.
They're just apartment.
Apartments, yes, or, they're
Right.
considered a single family home.
Like decentralized apartment.
Yes.
Never seen such a thing. All right, keep going.
Okay, so in the design, what we've done too is trying to maximize the amount of usable space for the renters. So on the second floor, they do have a little bit smaller because the stair tower, or stair does go up for their unit. Underneath that stair, we've actually taken and placed storage underneath there for them, and then where the stairs actually start to angle up, we've taken and created little nooks underneath there again as well for storage that would actually pull out. So again, trying to maximize the amount of space that people can actually use within these rental units. These are all, again, one bedrooms, one full bath, a kitchen, and each unit has its own buffer and fire inside of it as well.
So there's stacked flats.
Kind of the elevations that you're gonna start to see here too, some of the design comments that we received was possibly look at making the pitch on the roofs a little bit larger. We've since started to evaluate that, we have no issues with it, and we're actually looking to take the third floor unit and drop the ceiling down just a little bit, but it will be completely vaulted by the way of the roof inside of there. So really, at the end of the day, you wouldn't use any ceiling height, you'll actually gain some the way to the roof line at the bottom. Each one of the units has a little bit of an outdoor private area. The first floor unit actually has a little bit more because we've taken and we've actually shifted where you see the railing for the depressed area, put actually all the way over to the end of the unit. Allowing a little bit more light by placing a few more windows down there on that ground floor, and then that also increases your outdoor dining area. The upper two units each have their own balcony outside. And one of the comments, a few different comments from design review is also to just think about maybe a couple different styles of floors. In terms of the overall look of each one of these units will have a different from an aesthetic standpoint in terms of materials. And that will, again, to just help break up the street. You don't want these designs to be a monotonous design where it just looks like each one of these are exactly the same. So in the renderings right now, as we were looking through, going through design review and initially kind of getting some feedback on these concepts, we're in the process right now of each one of these will have their own individual look to them. The commission also did bring up possibility of even doing a couple of flat roof options, which we're not opposed to. So we are also evaluating that as well. Again, one of the other comments was just to get as much light in there as possible for the units, which again, on the first floor we've done by pulling the patio area over a little bit more, providing a couple of additional windows there. And then on the third floor, doing some transom windows up above high, especially with having the opportunity to have all the ceilings right there. The other comment was to also look at possibly separating the units a little bit more, especially on the street front. So Prior to this, we had provided a little bit of green space, sidewalks to kind of flank each side of it. Again, in the updated drawing, you'll see we take it and move that green space out, and we've provided now, as opposed to 6 foot from each unit, it's now 10 feet, give or take a little bit more, between the units as well. And again, push that unit right there that you see in the middle back a little bit to kind of break up that street front. And our idea also, again, was to really kind of limit the amount of drive going into there, the amount of parking that you visibly see from the street. You will see some, we did provide some kind of parallel parking on the sides as you come in the drives to provide access for handicap vehicles as needed. There will also be some in the back too, but just provided some as you pull in. And then in terms of tree preservation, on the 2 lots that face Goreville, those trees, based on our current survey, and we're still working through getting some additional information and also working with council on that, those trees will be coming down. The lot that is on Lee Avenue, however, will, the back part of our intention of all of this, for all of those trees to stay, once we determine final grading. A few of the ones that as you get back toward where the drive would be, may need to be addressed, but that lot is actually pretty flat right now. So our intent is to really truly just keep as much of those trees as possible. One of our earlier designs, just to kind of tell you where we've started and where we've come from, did actually have a connection between the, let's say the right-hand side of the Orville units all the way down to the avenue. Again, working through this and thinking more about it, we decided and felt that the right thing to do would be to actually try to leave those trees back there as possible, as much as possible, and not create that connection. Really, at the end of the day, all it did was provide a long drive to connect those two portions, and we saw really not much of a benefit to that other than just allow vehicles to really kind of create a thoroughfare. We felt that that also wasn't the greatest thing as well from people that may be living in these units, such having cars kind of pass through. Again, we wanted to provide a unit and an opportunity for people to have a little bit more outdoor space, have a little bit of breathing room. So again, keeping those trees and not creating that thoroughfare was something we felt was important to us.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did this proceed in central?
It did.
movement?
It says that it was unanimously approved as presented. But this is, for, what was the schematic design? But go ahead.
Well, I just, well, I kind of have some reservations about approval for schematic. Well, talk about tree preservation. We don't have a tree preservation plan. I mean, the landscape plan shows everything as kind of a green wash. I'm not really sure what's happening in any of these areas. I'm not sure if any trees are being planted.
Yes.
Like, you know, I'm saying the plans need a little bit more definition, in my opinion. And from the presentation, there seems to be a lot of things in fluctuation. There's recommendations from design review. I'm not sure if the applicant is going to lead or thinking about. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels.
I mean, for me, it's a really unusual site plan. And, you know, August and I were just talking, did you consider the front, just connecting the front units instead of having the space between them that, you know, connecting it as one, you know, kind of building? Because no one's going to go between these, and there isn't much natural light, and thinking about a site plan that created more shared open space in the back. It's just really odd sort of configuration for something that is apartments for me. And I understand you have a unit typology or and that you're just trying to repeat, but it's really unusual. I don't know how anyone else feels.
I have a question. I was concerned about the first floor apartments. I know there's going to be some ADA compliance, but if you're handicapped, how will you get to the fourth floor?
So based on the way the
Through the chair to that.
Go ahead.
Oh, just, you mentioned, there was maybe conversation at design review about potentially making it a flat roof. Would that be usable flat roof or is that? just-
No, it would not be, we would not plan to do anything top, like a top garden up there or anything like that, it would truly be a flat roof. They felt that, which I was kind of a little surprised by, because yeah, we're trying to tie to what the existing context of the neighborhood is, all the homes on that neighborhood have a issue with environment. So we weren't opposed to evaluating it, we are in the phase of trying to do, of looking into that. My thought would be is that more of the ones that face the street would still remain to have the picture elements, and then the ones that might be in the back, where they would be less visible from the street, may have a flat elements. It was just a suggestion or recommendation, or and ask of us to look into it, so that it's something to get started.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, I think there's a more dignified and graceful way to handle the density. I just feel like now it feels like you're just warehousing people, trying to get the maximum density on the site. I mean, why not just build an apartment building? I mean, because it just doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like people will use it. It just feels like you're just trying to hit a number. And I don't feel real comfortable with how this is manifested. I think it's, for a concept is good. I don't think it's even close to schematic to commission members. Drew's point. That's just my personal feeling, but I think it's a better way, a more dignified way to handle density, especially in a rental environment.
Can I respond to just the thought process on like not providing it in an apartment building? The thought behind not doing it as an apartment building, again, was to give each person somewhat of their own access and to have them not have to go into a large building or into a building and have to pass by a bunch of other people if they so don't desire to. And there's other offerings around where they could live in an apartment building, but we felt these each should be provided an owner or a renter with individual access to their unit. In terms of kind of going back to your question about putting the three units on the front together, I have no issue with combining that and pulling them together, and then just kind of reevaluating how that, how the entrances would work for those units and such. I don't have an issue with looking together. So.
Madam Chair, and just wanted to clarify what I meant. I don't think you understand what I said. To the applicant. I think living in an apartment would be better than living in here because it's not been executed that well. And I have just got to be totally honest. Thank you.
Madam Chair, for the record, I do want to share that Councilman Conwell supports the project in general, bringing more diverse housing types to the neighborhood. And you mentioned that the development team was a minority developer, record group development. He did not make any comments specifically to the design, but overall supports the idea of diversified housing. I do want to see if staff member Ariel Washington has any more comments. I know our team also had a few concerns we wanted to raise.
Ariel Washington, Northeast City Planner, Good Morning Commission.
May need to speak up a little bit.
Good Morning Commission, Ariel Washington, Northeast Planner. The only thing that I had to comment on were if there were possibly more windows. I understand that the buildings are close to each other, but there was a lack of windows to me. The committee, again, it was just recommended for the design team to look at a flat roof, not necessarily to change to one. It was just a recommendation of things to further look into.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see more windows to have more light into the units. But that is my only comment.
I mean, I personally would explore putting them together, at least on the front side. Potentially, you know, if you could think about how you would situate them so that it creates a courtyard behind the single unit that is actually shared green space. that's kind of intentional, kind of in between all of them. I think, and really think about, that, what you could create there. For me, could really help. I do agree a little bit about the windows, to really think about, and I'm not sure what the sliver windows are. Those bathrooms or
Yes,
bedrooms? Those are
be
bathrooms,
Yes,
okay.
so they're up high.
They're up high. I got it. Anyway, for me, I think, it's nice to have some, I agree, variety of density, but I think you want this place to feel really special. To your point, to really feel like, it's special, and maybe even think about what you said, which I agree with this idea of breaking it down so there's multiple ways that people can feel like they have their own entrance. But I think there's a way to accomplish that and also accomplish what Commission Member Fluker is saying by, more intentionally thinking about this as opposed to just repeating a pattern of types. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
But there's enough room here to create something that could be special if it's thought through. And I'd like to see this come here, and not against myself, against smaller unit types that might be more affordable and provide that affordability. I get it. We also want people to enjoy here and share space that way. I do like also the idea of multiple eyes on the street with the stoops and things. So anyway, there's a lot to work with here, but it needs to actually just be more intentionally designed.
I think it's pulling the one unit back forward more and then finding that upgrade created space and then maybe refiguring how those 4 units can map. Say will kind of accomplish more of that. Courtyard look on the back.
Yeah.
I would also add that, when you say green space, like articulate what that means, like, is it lawn, is it
Plaza.
barbecue, like what's happening? We're looking at these plans, and I have no idea what's happening in the green spaces.
Madam Chair, one other thing, and I'm not here to design, I'm an architect, I could easily do it, but that's not my job, I feel my charge as a commission member. But what I can say in my travels through a few decades dealing with affordable housing, market rate housing, mixed income, design something that you would want to live in, because I don't think it's fair to create some sort of product that's just okay because we're in a Black and brown community. It's just okay because they're leasing. I argue and I say to the contrary, that's where we should really elevate design, and we should elevate access and equity, because unlike everyone in this room, for most part, we're privileged. The folks who are probably going to be leasing this, not. So please understand that this is important. If we're going to create a typology that could be repeated, think about how you could execute that, and maybe it might be sexy to the entire city and not just this community. Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion, and I think there's a lot of changes here, so schematic might be tough, my opinion. So an option is actually to table. Go ahead.
I'll move. I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. I know where you're going,
Okay.
and I think this is where we're going. I'd like to recommend we postpone this submission and allow the applicant and his client, and maybe with some community input, and maybe from the CDC to come up with some concepts that resonate with the community and resonate with equity. Thank you.
Second.
Is postpone correct? I'm so confused by now. It's
Yes.
postpone.
Oh, I
Yes.
got that down, Madam Chair.
I trust you. Like, I can't remember. Okay.
That's a new
Motion
tool.
Second. Can you call the roll?
Hampton,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
we'll come back. What that means too is that you can come back when you're ready.
Okay.
So we didn't ask, which is a good thing.
Right.
We didn't, when you have some changes, come back. So we're open to as quickly as possible.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And one thing I'd like to say is that I do want to respect the fact that from our perspective, we are pro-development. We are excited about this. And we want to work with you to get it right.
I would just like to also just make a comment back that our intention was to provide a nice offering for
Yeah.
folks here. Our intention was not to provide something that doesn't provide the community with a nice place to live and a nice home and stuff. So that was kind of our idea, to provide individuality for each person as opposed to.
I understand. And I actually think it's really a good point and valid. So just needs a little bit of work and come back. So, well, quite a bit
Thank
of
you.
work, but, okay, next item is 2023-027, proposed demolition of a 1.5-story residential structure. This is final approval, 7023 St. Clair. Rebecca from CJ Contractors, are you here online?
Yes, I'm here online.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. We have your slides. You can go ahead. You likely can go through them pretty quickly.
Okay, so it's just a proposed demolition of a residential house. You can go to the next slide. Demolish the house, haul away the debris, grade out the lot, and then plant the grass. Next slide. Here is a map view of where the house is at. Next slide. Here's some exterior photos of the house. Next slide. Interior photos. Next slide. Some more interior photos. And the next slide. And the plans for after demolition are to plant grass for the owner.
Can you go back to the site plan real quick? I just don't know where this is. I think right there.
So it's
St. Clair and somebody.
just before.
Which one is it? Anyway, go back
It's
to
in
the.
the circle on it. You can see.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's not that great. Sorry.
Oh, is it set back that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fine. All right. Okay, Commissioner members.
Madam Chair, I move to approve demolition as presented.
Motion and a second. I'll call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item is Northeast 2023-028, the 4 efficiency project, new construction. This is seeking conceptual approval at 5229 and 5303 Luther Avenue. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. You can state your name when you speak for Michael.
Great. Michael Siri from Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. Glad to be before you today. I'll just give a couple opening comments. We're really excited about this initiative. Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry has been a affordable housing provider since 2015, so we are small but growing. This initiative will be our first new build. We're planning for 2 2-unit efficiencies and have a vision to do more further down the street as funding permits. So with that, I'll turn it over to our partners, Packy.
I'm Packy Highland, the CEO of PadSmart, the builder on this project, and this is.
Hello, I'm Dan Highland, and I'm designer.
All right. So this is on Luther Avenue, 2 duplexes, small efficiency duplexes. So a total of 4 units initially. We picked this location. One of the reasons we picked this location is because it's near the men's shelter that Michael runs, and it's also got a bunch of city land bank lots that are currently still available. That we would, if this goes as planned, which we think it will, be able to move down in time. The next slide, please. Thank you. Some of the unique features of this project is everything that we build, Dan and I, is Energy Star compliant. And designed for better than net zero performance, at least 6 to 8 months out of the year in Cleveland. On an annualized basis, the homes will produce far more power than they actually consume on an annualized basis. In the winter months, there'll be a small electric bill. We do no gas, all electric, super insulated building design. With solar panels. And the way we do solar panels on the roof is, since we're doing new construction, we are designing the house and the roof to optimize the solar panels, not only from a performance standpoint, but also from public health. Because when we do this, we want the roof to look natural and in place, and not like and not have the panel look like an afterthought. We also build everything that we're doing universal design, so ADA compliant. With regard to no steps, no thresholds that are blocking a wheelchair. You can roller skate from the street into the house into the shower. There's no steps. And larger bathrooms, larger door openings. Even though it's a very small space, we can still achieve that goal. We also do most of the building of the structure in the factory, and we're Cleveland. We have Cleveland-based factory here, where we assemble the panels, and you can see one at the bottom here on this picture. That's one in progress that we actually install we use steel framing, better for factory work. We use commercial grade gypsum for the majority of the building where we can. Then the insulation goes to the outside of the building, which is more efficient from an energy standpoint, and helps create the thermal mass inside the building. We also are slab on grades, no basement, and we have insulation underneath that slab, so that the concrete becomes part of the thermal mass of the building and helps keep it in even terms. So this unit, these units will use about 1/3 of the total energy that a typical home of the same size would use. And you add to that solar panels, and you're then energy positive on an annual basis. Here's a look at this from the west looking east on Luther Avenue. That's a large building there. Does block our sun, especially in the winter months during the first part of the day, but by the afternoon, those solar panels are facing southwest, so we can get a bunch of sun chickens out in Cleveland in the winter, which is rare. So we don't expect a lot of solar production in the winter, but we will get a lot of solar production. Some of those are roughly 10,000 watt solar arrays. That's an existing home on the same street, obviously looking the other direction. We met with design review last week, and they had a lot of good suggestions, and I think we incorporated all of them. And we're happy with the outcome, and it does look a lot better. So, next slide, please. So this is Luther Avenue, and Superior's just to the north, and East 55th is just to the east. And we are looking, this is an alternate, if the one lot there, there's yellow, that's county land bank. And then all the rest are city land bank, except for the one lot right next to the county land bank is currently in foreclosure. And if we can't acquire that, if it's not quick enough, we'll build 2 doors down first, and then eventually, hopefully, come back in the long term. But this initial project is just for 2 buildings with 2 units per building. And that's an actual county land bank lot right there. I reached out to Jennifer Kipp. I have not yet heard back from her, but I left a voicemail and sent her an email, so hopefully she'll get back to me. There aren't a lot of trees right there right now, but this particular line of trees is one of the city land bank lots. We're going to hopefully be able to remove this. There's a fence built. Those trees are grown into a fence that's there. And, when we take those trees out, we'll be replanting for, you know, as much as we can. I like to say, I love trees. I have trees in my yard. And I've planted 3 trees in my yard in the last 2 years. But, I don't want to plant trees that are gonna block our solar panels. So we're going to be intentional about where we put the trees and what kind of trees. In the front yard, we can put trees that grow up to 15 feet and they won't bother our solar. And in the side yard, we're gonna try and keep that clear. And in the back, we can have any size trees we want. And there are some very large trees in the back already that will stay.
Can you go back to the rendering? Oh, sorry, you have more?
More
Are you-
renderings?
No, more, sorry.
No, I don't have more.
Yeah, no, units, the
Oh,
units, other. No,
Oh, more rendering.
right. Oh, there, can you stop for one, can you end on this one? I have a comment. Yeah, go ahead. Are you done? One more.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
So this is a comment, and then I'm gonna ask I'm actually gonna ask my commission members if they agree, because you may not. No, just no, you may not agree with me. I love everything about this project, except for one thing. So let's see if it's possible. So I love the idea that it's universal design, it's gonna be affordable, gonna roll right in, get solar panels, manufactured, could be replicated, what you guys are doing, could be a model. It's awkward place because of the kind of mixed in industrial, but it kind of makes sense to me too. Everything about it. The only thing I would tell you is that I feel like since this could be a nice model, there is something about the architecture that I think could be refined more for me. Maybe it just could feel a little bit more contemporary or something that could set the standard for how this kind of unit could go across the city. It's just I would just come back and push the idea of a simple, I'm not talking about adding more cost, but a simple, what I'd call 2024 type design. It could be a model. The architecture just to me is not there. And I'd love to see this be super successful because I love everything about it. And you guys trying to build something that could be a model. But I don't want to see this style of this look and feel across the whole city. How does that sound?
I agree with you.
Yay.
Okay. It's funny because we kind of went backwards with our design. I don't know if you can't pull up our website.
I would love to see what it looked like if anyone could show me.
Well, while we're holding,
Our website, we have our first house on there, which is much more.
Well, I don't know if
similar
design
to
review did this, but like, go say what you're gonna say.
I think you have an opportunity. I agree with Lillian. And I call it the Mr. Potato Head effect. I mean, obviously, no, seriously. And sometimes you gotta explain stuff in rudimentary terms. You have the potato and it's an additive thing. It's the same potato, but maybe there's a dormer, maybe there's scallop, siding, maybe, you create the variety through sort of all the kit of parts, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same base, but then there's variety, not just in color, but in windows and in fenestrations that really fit within your business model. But you're able to create, you're not just stepping them, spitting them out. I think there's a way to do that.
The project that comes to mind for me, of which I love the houses, I mean, it's in Houston, Project Row Houses, you know that project?
I do.
It was done for artists, very simple design, just Google it. And it, in a neighborhood, really affordable, if you're in there with a bunch of artists, super cool. But the architecture speaks to the future forward of the community, and it's very simple. So if you go look at that, it'll be your inspiration, Project Row Houses in Houston, and or maybe what you showed before. But I think if design review got you here, then this is what's wrong with design review. So, so if it happens, you tell me how we got here, no
Well,
offense.
and Madam Chair, they are at conceptual, so we have room, they have room.
Sorry, if you're on design review, I don't mean to offend you.
But I do agree.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
So we'll be flexible, and to be honest, I don't mean to be harsh, we're the final say, so just so you know.
understood. Well, like I said, we kind of tried to squeeze our more modern design into what kind of the neighborhoods around there look like, which is more simple.
Go look
And
at
that's the
Project
initial
Row
feedback
houses.
we got from the
Yeah.
city years ago when we
Yeah,
worked
seen
with
it.
the different architectural.
You know, you can incorporate different porches, the different design. I mean, there's a way to do this without breaking the bank, as it were.
Yeah.
But I think you're on a,
When you're talking factory built, there's certain limitations, like Lego blocks, you know, we have the Lego blocks to
oh,
work.
I
with,
get you, but the porch is additive. It's not
Yeah,
coming with the house.
absolutely, 100%.
You're standing up, boom, and then that's why I
Yeah.
selected the potato head
Right.
concept.
I don't know.
Interested to know what you're thinking in terms of, specifically in your mind, but we'll look at this,
Yeah.
this website that you sent, but in terms of slightly more modern, or more modern. You know, flat roofs on one side, no, I mean, we have solar, so there's some.
No, I mean, to me, it's not the pitch or anything, it's really just the look and feel. Basically, we're just gonna give you latitude
It's the thickness of the.
to try not to, you know, try not to make something that feels really suburban. How's that?
Right, and and I think changing the porch and the design maybe of windows and things like that works, but also the landscape can do a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
hardscape and landscape on the front of the house, I think we can really make it look different
Okay.
that way, and that doesn't change our Lego block
Right,
structure in the
yeah.
factory, which is what makes it more affordable.
Yeah, no, I would love for you guys to figure this out, and it's completely replicable. So,
Chair, may I ask a question, just for clarification for everyone? So this is the first phase you're proposing, which is 4 units. Can you clarify how many total units for the whole plan?
There's room for 6 buildings, so there'll be 12 units total potential.
yeah. Okay.
On that contiguous city land bank lots,
Okay.
So,
if we can acquire this.
okay. So, commission members, any other comments or thoughts? And remember, this one is early, it's conceptual.
Yes.
So, you know, you're welcome to come back when, I don't know, we'll have to make a motion, but it's early enough that I think, you know, we really like the project. You know, I want you to work on it a little bit.
We'll probably want to come back first thing in January, just so that we can break ground in the spring. But we can also submit to the building department too, the building and. Right.
Well, you would need schematic approval to begin, your groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah, to begin groundbreaking, I know if we submit to them, they'll do it and kick it back to you anyway, but at least we'll get the zoning and everything else.
Start the process if you want.
At least that's what the flow chart on the website.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's the problem.
Third council, welcome. We just some second
Yeah,
award. that
Nothing like
we-
Post Valley, right?
No,
Yeah.
but your kids are more important.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any thoughts?
Is there a way that we can get
No.
feedback? Yeah, exactly.
Cannot get
On
schematic
some
approval.
other, ideas that you think would be better before we should come back, or, I mean, in other words, I don't want,
No.
I'm just trying to avoid coming back.
You know,
Trying to avoid coming back.
honestly though, what the truth is that when you come back for schematic approval, right? We're really just talking about the architecture, right? Schematic approval is also to give you site plan, layout. You really are almost there. We just really want you to work on the architecture. So even if you come back for schematic and there's still some tweaks, you're gonna get schematic.
Okay.
We need to see you again.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Well, not yet.
Okay.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
Okey dokey.
Try to add some stuff in there.
Oh, I'll leave out the potato head. We need levity in our lives, guys. That's what, we can sit here and be dry, but, no, anyway, I move to approve, the fourth efficiency project, new construction, for conceptual design, with the caveat that the applicant continue to investigate a more appropriate vernacular and product type, with variations across that product type.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll. You got that, Michael? Take your time.
We're gonna replace you with AI.
We had a motion. Erica. They know.
You say my name?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Luther,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slight.
Abstain just because I missed time.
Motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you as soon as you're ready.
Thank you very much.
You can come back. East Design Review 2023-039 Neon Health Services digital sign seeking final approval 13303 Miles Avenue. We have Apex and Xavier, two of you. Who is online from Laura?
Morning.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. Xavier, you going first? Okay.
Hey, hello, my name is Xavier Day, I'm the zone planners and city planning. And so basically today, this is a pretty quick, or a pretty simple variance that's gonna be needed. So basically the proposal is a business identification and an electronic messaging board wall sign right at this neon facility. So basically it's located at 13301 Miles Road. And this is a local retail business district. And so you can also see a few of the site photo, site context posted on there. Top view and the bottom view just kind of shows you up and down Miles Road. The middle picture there just shows their facility and the existing signage, which is going to be replaced with their wall sign there.
It's true.
So this is a proposed wall sign to be put up. The square footage is fine. The main reason for the variance is because it's located in a local retail business district. And primarily the electronic message board section there. So right, why does it have to come through planning commission? So basically planning commission has jurisdiction to vary the sign code. To be either more strict or less strict than the regulations in 350, which is the section of the sign code. And so you're going to be looking at design compatibility, design guidelines, and just making sure there's a minimum variation from the current code. So that's just it. As I said, the main variance needed, the only variance needed here is because this electronic messaging board is going to be proposed within a local retail district.
All of a sudden, we ended up with two POs.
See here, this additional considerations, the electronic message center shall be, let me just summarize this. So basically, the proposed sign, you're considering that this will not adversely impact character of nearby properties, will not cause any disturbances to users of those properties. Making sure that the design and placement of the sign has been approved based on the general design guidelines established by this commission, and that each collected information shall remain static or fixed for a minimum of 20 seconds. And this is really to kind of prohibit flashing, scrolling, and or other copy that gives the appearance of motion. But yeah, basically, that's what you're considering today. That about sums up my presentation.
Thank you. Any additional comments from Laura that you'd like to make?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
recall that if you make a motion, you do have to provide the rationale since this is a variance on sign code.
Okay. Architecture of the buildings. Not so much.
I'll move approval. I think that the sign is compatible with surrounding properties and that there's a little shopping plaza right there. So there's precedent for signs and it's also facing Miles, so it's not the length or the words and the movement of it is it's facing towards residential properties as far as I can imagine myself being in Miles.
That's second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Hanson,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McBride Scott.
Yes.
McKnight,
Yeah.
Sergeant.
Yes. Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. East Design Review Apartments on East 93rd Street. This is seeking schematic design approval at 2122 East 93rd Street. Kevin, are you the only one here to speak?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer with the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, and, this, was approved at local, so go ahead.
Okay. I'm Kevin O'Malley with MPG Architects, here to present this proposed project. For the narrative here, this is, there are a series of apartment buildings that we're proposing to build on what were previously single-family and duplex properties and a couple apartment properties that were converted from old homes. So we would like to purchase that land, demolish a couple of dilapidated houses that are on the property. And then as a site plan
Like deja
shows,
vu.
As
Guys
is-
are laughing. Go ahead.
do you want me to skip to the?
No. Just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
So our kind of product we're trying to do here is that each of these fits in with the character of the neighborhood. They're maybe just a little bit bigger, but they're around the same height, the same character, same materiality as all the existing houses. But by having kind of a dormer third floor, we're able to get 3 stories with 4 units on each floor for 12 units in each of these 3 buildings that you see on the site here. And then we minimize parking. Hopefully we can get that through zoning because it's way under what the code currently calls for. But that was a big comment from the design review that they wanted a lot less parking. They wanted smaller drives. So one thing we did was we put a narrower drive, but then we have flush sidewalks with it because the fire department was requiring us to have a wider drive for a facility of this nature. So could you please skip ahead a little on the context first?
East side type house.
2 more slides. One more. Okay, so this is, back one. So this shows the property. It's located between East 90th and East 93rd, south of Cedar. And in that area, there's a couple brick houses, but it's mostly just all vinyl sided, 2.5-story houses. So you go one more forward. This shows a kind of a zoom in with some call outs towards the photos on the next page. So here you'll see photos of existing houses from the exterior and then some of the vacant lots that we're proposing to use to consolidate into the new lot. So if you want to zoom in a little on those upper left corner there. So basically their design is everything's kind of built up on top of the basement space. So you have like a 2.5 to 3.5 foot base on the house, a front porch, series of kind of erratically placed windows, balconies sometimes, other times just the porch. So that's one of the houses. If you go to the right of the screen. That's another one of the houses we're proposing to demolish. And then please go to the next slide. So this shows the condition. There's also
rental property in the back, that I'm not even sure it was permitted, it looks like there's an old garage they converted. So that and the houses, they're pretty poor condition inside, a lot of stripped out or, you know, kind of water damage, lot of issues.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, I want to be clear. Are we here for design or are we here for demolition or both?
We're just here for design. This is actually conceptual approval.
Okay, right.
Schematics approval.
So-
We're not here for demolition. He's just showing us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
can move through this.
Yeah, and the reason for that is the tax abatement program, you have to receive the schematic approval first, so we couldn't do the demo before we could buy the property.
Just a clarification, it's an application, not necessarily approval.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Just one more point. Is this a design review district? Like, we don't have to approve demolitions, right?
We won't see it.
Okay.
I don't believe.
That's fine.
Thanks, Chair.
It is not in a defined district, so we do not deal with it.
Okay.
It's just right outside Columbus.
And I think the next page has some more photos of the existing conditions. Okay, so if you could go, back up to the site plan, please. Right page.
So it's a big vote.
3 or 4, I think.
What are the renderings?
So that'll be right after the exterior elevation, going with that. Up towards. Right, like 8 sheets from the beginning.
Oh, okay. All right, going the wrong way.
Yeah, there's a lot of civil drawings at the end, with all the stormwater and landscape, tree preservation. Yeah, right there. So this is kind of the concept of the product, that we would have 3 of these. We would vary the color, and then we could vary some of the siding. Even though the existing context, everything's just flat siding, we were thinking for this one, it would be nice to also have some scallops, have some shapes up in the gable area. And then as far as accessibility, we do have the first floor fully accessible, 1 type A unit and then 3 type B units in each building. And the way we kind of get around that and still have the porches to blend in with the neighborhood is that the main entrance is on the side of the building. If you look back at the site plan.
So what what we're looking at is 4 units or 6 units?
12 total, 4 on each floor.
Oh,
okay,
4 on
gotcha.
each floor.
Yep.
So it's a walk up.
Yep. And then for the whole site, you would have 36 units on this.
Gotcha.
And in the future, if we ever get that other site that isn't green but has the property lines around it, we would have another unit.
How big is a unit?
650.
1
yeah.
bed?
1 bedroom. They're kind of like low to medium income. They're geared towards the nurses, orderlies, and other personnel working in the hospital. So our proximity to the University Circle and including clinic. So if you zoom in and that center driveway,
That makes sense.
and then go down over the whole place.
This is lots of super deep.
So where the driveway slopes up in each direction, that's how we get around having a 0 entry into the units on the first floor for really accessible residents.
Do you really think that 36 units, 16 spaces, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, 16. We started with, I think, half or more of the we needed, and they kept asking us to go less parking throughout the design review process.
So it's half a car per unit.
Less than that.
Smart. Yeah, and we do have bike storage in the, if you go to the floor plan, we have bike storage on the first floor under the kind of unused space at the stair.
Right.
So we're expecting people to walk or bike with the proximity. That was the typical first floor. Go back to seats.
We don't need to see the units. You're good.
Okay.
To be honest. Commission members?
And Madam Chair, I understand the concept now, and actually, the architecture appears to be appropriate for the vicinity. And I know we're at conceptual design. Or I think there needs to be some careful consideration about how pavement, walks, green space, access to and fro, it needs to be really studied. It needs to be, I mean, if you're gonna pack 36 people, maybe 72, right? I mean, I'm just,
Get down the road, yeah.
it could be 2 people per unit. So it's gonna be a really dense site. And I think how you handle amenities and how you handle how people walk, how you handle snow removal, maintenance, trash, all that, which needs to be very orchestrated and curated so that you create a product that's attractive. I think one thing you have going for yourself is obviously you have 2 streets. It's not one deep block. And so you do have access from both sides in terms of pedestrian access. But I think this needs to be studied a lot further, obviously, as you move on. The site.
Yeah. I'll add on to that and say that, one, I'm intrigued by the project because if you look at the most densely populated parts of Cleveland, it's like Detroit in the West 80s, Lorraine around like West 110th. They're not what you would think of as being like the urban core, but there's a real proliferation of like multi-unit housing like this. And when you have it at scale, you get a lot of people in it. So I think that it's something that I'd like to see the city kind of move back to and do it in an architectural way that's respectful of the community. I will say that I do wonder if the parking is too few. You know, I'm sure there's street parking, but this is also an area where I think there's gonna be development pressure. And if we're gonna do more of this, then the street parking will be few and far between at some point in the future. I also will say that I'm personally skeptical of the angular sidewalks. I think people just walk from point A to point B. And you end up in situations like this, like on a college campus where there's just people walking across the grass. You can see where the sidewalk should have been. So I think in these building projects, I'd encourage straight sidewalks or sidewalks at an angle instead of trying to do this right jog, because I don't think people are gonna follow that. And then that messes up the landscaping and all the other things that I think we're gonna be interested in seeing down the road. So.
Yeah, I could definitely connect that more to the main path to the other road instead of teeing off at the board.
If I may make a comment, I do think this technology, to echo Councilman's sentiments, is great because you have multi-unit building form of the surrounding neighborhood. And I just mentioned that this is an example of a single stair building that goes up 3 stories, which is how you're able to get out of that building technology to fit within the context of the neighborhood. So appreciate it. Still more work to do.
Yeah, we push the limits of what the code allows as far as stair egress and accessibility in this. It is fully suppressed voting, just to throw that in for safety.
Right.
I will move approval, with the conditions of exploring, further the parking, the sidewalks, the landscaping. Did I miss anything on this?
Site amenities.
Site amenities.
Second?
Motion and a second. Michael, you call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent. Yes. But
Yes.
Motion carried. On the next item, Mr. Fluker and I need to accuse ourselves. You are in great hands with Ms. Erica Anthony, who will be chairing the next item, and we'll come back. So good luck.
Don't mess up that up.
All right, thank you, Chair Pro Tem Erica Anthony.
Thank you so much. And advance grace, as this is my first time. Next, we will hear from the Brooklyn Beautiful Communities. This is new construction. We are seeking conceptual approval. The location is Chester Avenue and East 65th Street. We have a couple of representatives here that I will need to swear in, Katie, Jasmine, and Chris Shefton. You all solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter, now in hearing under the penalty of perjury.
I do.
And do you all have any representatives online today?
No.
Proceed.
So good morning. My name is Chris Shatton. I am the Chief of Growth and Expansion for Birthing Beautiful Communities. I'm here today with two of my colleagues, our fearless leader, CEO and President Justin Long, and our project manager, Katie Gillette from City Architecture. The presentation. Next slide. Thank you so much. So we're here to talk about form and design this morning. And as a planner, one of the things I love is when purpose and design come together. And so today we're here to talk to you about, a problem that is seeking a solution. And so we are Birthing Beautiful Communities. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to working on the eradication of infant and maternal mortality. I'm not sure how many people know, but the state of Ohio is second from the bottom as it applies to maternal mortalities. Excuse me. What you see across our state is akin and comparable to statistics that you see in third world countries. And so we have selected a location that is in the epicenter of the infant mortality crisis, which is the hub. Next slide. Go back one. So, awesome, thank you. Birthing Beautiful Communities is an organization of birth workers. Sometimes you'll hear us say perinatal support persons, we're doers. The ladies who work with us on a daily basis are committed to helping mothers from as early as 6 weeks of pregnancy all the way up to a baby's first year of life, providing them wraparound services, support, and love, an extension of their family to help them address what we know as the cause of mortality, stress. And so the women who do work with us support mom to get her the healthiest places in her journey. And as we can see, it works. In 10 years of success, we've served over 2,000 mothers. There are 200 doulas who've been trained through our organization. We have a 91% full-term birth rate, and we have an 86.3% breastfeeding initiation. Both of those higher than the national average.
And if I might, during the pandemic, maternal mortality rose by 33%. We did not lose a single mother in our program, even though we served the highest amount of women we've ever served.
And just in this past year, we have served 761 mothers with the women who work with us on a daily basis. So why birth center? A lot of folks ask, what is a birth center? So let's start with it. A birth center is a home-like setting that is geared towards women and run by certified nurse midwives. In our space, we are bringing together clinical space in a home-like setting run by medical professionals to celebrate the most important thing you can ever do, which is to bring life into the school. It is to not look like a traditional healthcare space. It is supposed to have all of the trappings of healthcare with all of the love and care you would feel like if you were at home. And so what the city architecture team has worked very hard to do is to incorporate not only the necessary trappings of what it will take for a mother to successfully deliver a baby in our space, but also a space where she can immediately feel comfortable as soon as she walks in the door. It's important to note that 85% of women have the acuity to deliver in a space like ours, but generally only about 0.5% of women choose this as an option. We are here today providing an additional space, an alternative to a traditional hospital setting for women that does a couple different things. It provides patient-centered care. It is a lower cost option overall. There's fewer medical interventions, And it's generally increased patient satisfaction because unlike during the pandemic, when you only have typically a partner or one other person, this is a family setting. We want everyone to be there. As Katie talks through the presentation, she will explain to you the spaces that we've created in order to make it happen. I also just want to briefly speak about, in addition to choosing Hub, because as I mentioned, it's one of the highest neighborhoods in the city of Cleveland as it applies to infant maternity process. Hub is also a special place because of all of the fantastic things that are happening in that neighborhood. We also stand on the shoulders of organizations that have come before us, like NEOM and Eliza Bryant, that provide culturally sensitive care for residents who live in these communities. We stand on their shoulders and seek to build on that tradition.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Katie Gillette. And with City Architecture. I'm delighted to be here today, and we are really so happy to be working alongside Birthing Beautiful Communities to deliver this much needed initiative in the Lansing community. As Chris had mentioned, Birthing Beautiful Communities' roots are in the Hub neighborhood, so it's incredibly important that this new growth center be located in Hub. Also be connected to and have synergy with other development and investment that is taking place in Hub. There's a lot happening along East 66th Street corridor, the new Cleveland Public Library, Huff Branch, dozens of new single-family homes coming online. Magnet, for example, just south of Chester, the Cleveland Foundation, the Midtown Collaboration Center, other future investment that is coming, led by the Cleveland Foundation. So again, with all those things in consideration, we feel it's incredibly important to develop this project on Chester Avenue, between East 65th Street and East 63rd Street. If you're familiar with Magnet, that's just to the block west of us. On the east side is the fire station number 17 that actually faces out at East 66th Street, but the property comes through to 65th. In 2020, there was a Ward 7 development plan put in place. And that identified this particular lot as a critical development opportunity to really put development and create frontage along Chester Avenue. So there's a great alignment there. And then also around that timeline, the East 66th Street plan we're blocked to the west on 65th Street. So the 66 was hyper-focused on that corridor. But some of the goals outlined in that plan, particularly establishing connectivity north and south across Chester, are in great alignment. And something that we can support through this development at this corner. If you may or may not have seen some of these maps and images before, but Chester Avenue was built in the 1950s. It was built to prioritize getting cars from downtown to University Circle, and really just prioritizing getting high volume traffic through and through with little regard for the established community that was there. So we see this as a really great opportunity to kind of shift the focus from cars, vehicles, again, that high volume traffic, and begin to place development that fronts Chester, begins to really prioritize people in place. In terms of the existing context of this particular development site, on 65th and 63rd Street, there is a strong residential component, especially as you go north into the Hub neighborhood. There's single family homes that date back from the early 20th century. There's single family homes that are a little bit more modern from the 90s and 2000s. But this is also very much a mixed use district. Again, mentioning fronting Chester, we've got Magnet just to the west. On the east side is that fire station number 17. On the opposite side of Chester, Dates Market, and then of course you go through the Euclid Avenue, the Cleveland Foundation, the Midtown Collaboration Center. So very much a precedent for non-residential uses. And of course, building and development is more than just about buildings. It's about people too. So Birthing Beautiful Communities has been very intentional about outreach early and often as it relates to this project. That means sharing updates and presentations at community meetings, reaching out directly, having conversations with backyards, focused conversations, etc. At the end of the day, we want to hear feedback and considerations that we can take and respond to, and again, getting that productive feedback that we can address through design. At the end of the day, we want to be really good neighbors. Digging into a little bit more specifics of the site, it is currently a collection of 6 individual parcels. It fronts Chester, goes from 65th to 63rd, kind of L-shaped. It is all currently vacant land. Previous structures have been demolished. Just interesting, I've included the survey in here because you can see this sort of jagged right-of-way property line along Chester Avenue. That goes back to the days when Chester was, really literally big place for a neighborhood. That jaggedness is just an existing condition that we're gonna have to work around, and we are planning to. Some photographs of the site as it stands today. Again, I mentioned all vacant land, previous structures demolished. Interestingly enough, the current streetscape environment and pedestrian experience is really poor. Again, that area is set up to prioritize traffic. So tree lawns are very narrow, sidewalks are very narrow, they're in very poor condition. And this is something that we are very intentionally going to address through our design and our approach. There's also
Madam Chair, can you ask the gentleman behind the applicant to reserve comments until the presentation is over?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. I'm sorry. Sir, just ask that you reserve any comments until we get to that portion, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then looking towards the north again, where it transitions from the vacant lot towards the residential properties, and there is a sort of natural existing landscape buffer of trees and shrubs of that nature. So what are we looking to do here? At the end of the day, Chris mentioned all of Earth and Beautiful's great work, the issue that we're setting out to solve. And first and foremost, we want to create a place that is safe, welcome, and comfortable for the women that will be served here. Prenatal, during their birthing experience, postnatal, and that 1 year, after birth, we want everyone to feel safe, comfortable, and welcome. And we want it to be a place that celebrates Black culture, that empowers bringing new life into the world, and that embraces a natural childbirth experience. So those guiding principles have been our North Star as we set out to design this wonderful initiative. And that goes from the site level to the landscape concept all the way through to the interior design. Okay, those are North Stars. So the site itself does sit in the city's pilot HUF form-based code area. So we are designing this to meet the proposed Urban Flex 3 designation. And that takes into consideration things like minimum and maximum setbacks, screening requirements, form, scale. Again, really focused on enhancing the public realm. So whether you're coming here to physically be a visitor, or if you're passing through, again, it's a great experience for everybody. The building itself, as you can see here, it's the yellow box, is situated on Chester and 65th, again, highlighting that Chester frontage. There will be visitor parking to the north. Staff parking will be on the west. We've got 35 parking spaces in total. Through the center of the site will be a natural sort of garden courtyard space. So if mom is in labor, you just kind of walk it out. There's a safe, dedicated, pleasant space to do that. And then there will be a solid fence between or at the northern boundary of the site. We see the landscape concept and design as a really great opportunity, again, to reinforce not only what we're trying to do here, create a safe, welcoming environment, that is really celebrating that natural childbirth experience, but also that meets the various form-based requirements and thinking about things like screening. So we'll have a series of, again, shrubs, trees, and most importantly, or excitingly, colorful plants, perennials, things like that, that really start to bring in a vibrancy to the space. To give a little bit of context about what is happening within the building, the first floor is going to be the birth center area, or patient area, I should say. There'll be 4 birthing suites, 2 exam rooms, that'll serve during prenatal and eventually, well visits, family support spaces, and it'll be the main distribution hub to the rest of the facility. So on the second floor, Earth and Beautiful is moving their administrative headquarters here, so this will be primarily office space. Private offices, conference room, open offices, relatively typical, but beautiful spaces. And then on the third floor, that will serve as a hybrid space for both the work center and the more office administrative functions. But with a stronger focus on maybe, you know, larger groups. So training rooms for the doula programs, healthy eating courses in a demonstration kitchen for mom, health and wellness spaces, again, thinking about exercise, thinking about internal mental health. Those kind of spaces are going to be taking place on the third floor. There will also be a roof deck, and that's positioned and situated so that the views are focused to the west towards downtown Cleveland and across Chester. In thinking about the materiality of the building itself, again, we're drawing inspiration from the natural childbirth experience, pulling in lots of warm, rich wood tones, and then also bringing in elements, pops of color that really celebrate the joy and vibrancy of this entire experience. So the building itself, again, 3 stories. We're incredibly intentional about where we're placing windows, what kinds of windows, sizes of windows, again, to maximize views, daylight, really focusing larger expanses and more communal type spaces, and perhaps looking at more higher transit windows and spaces where we want more privacy or to limit views in and out of this space. I'm gonna go to the 3D views, it's just much easier to through it. And this is an aerial looking from Chester towards the site itself. The building will have, we want it to be beautiful. It's going to be sort of undulating and interesting. We want it to capture people's attention, and we want people to be excited and to feel very welcome when they're coming here. So materiality, we've been very intentional as we kind of wrap around the building, bringing that, it's going to be very visible from all approaches, so bringing that materiality around. We've got some fun and play with some vertical battens that are going to introduce some texture into the exterior design. Thinking about as it faces the sort of more residential part of the neighborhood, how can we limit or begin to limit some views out? And again, just thinking about how this building can activate and transform this particular lot that's currently vacant and very, very less. So with that, appreciate everyone's attention.
Thank you for the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. At this time, we'll move to public comments. We have folks in the room. We'll start there. I will remind anyone that is viewing this meeting today via the WebEx, if you can please use the raise hand feature, and we will call upon you once we complete the comments for individuals that are present physically in this room. Do we have any public comments for this room? We'll do this in an orderly fashion. I do want to remind those both online and present that we're going to limit comments to 3 minutes. My beloved friend Michael will help me keep track of time. So we're nearing that 3-minute mark. You might see me just wave just to garner your attention. Also want to remind the commission that in our folder there are a number of support letters that were submitted in advance. Director Wong, anything on this?
Would you like me to go through those more public comments? Okay, sure. So I will go ahead and share that we did receive 12 letters in favor of the project. I will mention 7 that were directly from the neighborhood or surrounding communities, including a resident on East 65th Street, Midtown Cleveland Inc., New Mount Zion Baptist Church in Huff on East 71st Street, First Year Cleveland, Huff Community Land Trust, and 2 perinatal support doulas from Larchmere, Buckeye Woodhill. So those are all the support of the project, and then we did receive 5 additional letters from folks who are in perinatal health but live in the Heights or surrounding suburbs. So I just want to mention 12 in total, and then I have some comments perhaps after public comment where we can do a staff report and our additional comments then.
Okay, fantastic. And then just a reminder, we are here for new construction, seeking conceptual approval. Comments should be scaffolded around design and integrity of what has been presented by our applicants today. And again, for those providing public comment, please state your name and address for the public record. And I may just ask you to pause to make sure that Michael captures that information.
My name is Eric Cook.
address 1756 and 65th Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you, Mr.
Four
Cook.
four one one three. I want to thank you all for that. It's just my concern, our concern. Subject, request to deny the construction of Birth of Beautiful Communities, Cuyahoga Planning Commission. First, I want to extremely clear in expressing that our community, which includes the outright street floor, firmly opposes any construction of Birth of Beautiful Communities within our community. The concept of building such a facility in this neighborhood would pose continuous nuisance and be subject to regulations as a public business under the Ohio law of administrative rules. Please note, Birth of Beautiful Community, BBC, presentation which you have is carefully crafted, marking the pitch that emphasis specific positive elements of organizations while ignoring any focus on community concern. Negative imagery they present raises doubt about the fairness and accuracy of presentation, suggesting a deliberate effort to influence perception by highlighting only their perspective. The document diminishes the vibrant homes and positive aspects that truly define our community. The colorful documents portray an unnourished neighborhood eagerly awaiting beautiful building, potentially overshadowing our community. They seek to boast their organization's name, unwarranted the city funding and change the current zoning before being sustaining properties. I'm sure you are aware there are numerous vacant properties in Cuyahoga County near bus lines. Which would eliminate the need to disrupt our thriving historical neighborhood. Councilwoman Fannie Lewis' legacy should not be jeopardized or disrupted by Birth of Beautiful Communities. They have consistently low client base across the two locations since their 501c3 approval in 2017. This information is documented and available. Although, again, our community strongly opposes Birth of Beautiful Communities construction project due to concern about.
Mr. Cook, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to be cognizant of time. I do want to note for the record that the next section of your letter details a number of nuances. Can you perhaps just reference the nuances that you're referencing in your letter for purposes of time, and then head to the conclusion of your letter, please? Thank you.
Issues like heightened foot traffic. These are the nuisances that they're going to create. Heightened foot traffic. Unexpected large gatherings inside and outside of the facility. Psychological stress. Continuous exposure to nuisances will contribute to psychological stress among residents manifesting in various ways, including anxiety, sleep disturbance, diminished overall mental well-being, and place us on constant alert to protect our assets and community. And this bus line, there's no buses that run up and down Chester, so there will be increase in traffic hazards, increase in security concern, raise in foot traffic, a substantial increase in pedestrian activity from clients in scheduled Birth of Beautiful Communities, large and outside. So much more I would like to say. In summary, we recognize that Birth of Beautiful Communities will seek no downplay. Will seek to downplay our concern, present superficial solutions such as using tree lines to create visual barriers between buildings and surrounding properties. They'll pass away, they'll die. However, the nuisance we have highlighted cannot be accurately addressed by mere aesthetic petitions like plants and tall trees. Our community in the Hawkeye Street Club urge you to properly reject the proposal for Berkeley Beautiful Communities project. All proposals associated with this project. This outline plan includes that the construction propose a persistent, continuous nuisance in our community. Based on the decision of Planning Commission, our community will determine whether to pursue legal action to halt construction. Please notify me if there is any scheduled public meetings or this matter. Please follow this document term.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I do want to note for the record, for time purposes, I did ask Mr. Cook to skip over a portion of his letter. I will briefly just read what those nuanced titles are, but we do have hard copies that have been presented to us. So negative impact on property values, proximity to high equity homes, incompatibility with neighborhood character, 24/7 continuous operation concerns, increased security concerns, increased traffic hazards, rise in foot traffic, unlawful sale, service of controlled substances, strain on local resources, unsightly accumulation of waste, privacy disruption, and psychological stress. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I say one last one?
Actually, we're out of town.
10 seconds.
We are out of town, time. We thank you so much for your commentary and for submitting this letter today. We're gonna move on to the next public comment.
May I have a word, please?
Yes, if you can please state your name and full address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is George Rivers. I live at 1764 East 65th Street, right down the street from the project.
Thank you.
Now, my problem is this. We have been in this community, living in this community, myself, 24 years. Brother Cook, longer than me. And Ms. Williams, longer than myself as well. Now, I didn't hear anything about the petition that was passed around to the immediate people in our community that would be affected on 63rd and 65th. Now, this petition was given to multiple areas. We gave it to the city of Cleveland. We gave it to Berkeley Beautiful. We gave it to Magnet. We gave it to a lot of different people.
We asked the to clarify what petition, what is the petition?
Sure. Yes, we can just provide a little bit more detail on what the petition's content.
Okay, the actual petition was passed around with residents on 63rd and 65th. This is a copy of the petition.
Can you just briefly share with us what the purpose?
The purpose was the opposition of the project. Now, we're not against the mission of Berkeley Beautiful. We're against the business decision that they chose to build that project at the corner of our street. And we think it's a great mission. It's not the mission, it's the project. So we want to make sure that we have a word in what goes on. We want a community. We don't want a commercial district. And that's what we're getting. Our area is turning into a commercial district and not a community. When we moved into our area, it was a community. And we want to keep it a community. And we're being denied of that. It looked like almost we're being ran over by this project. We didn't hear anything about this project until summer, this past summer. And I think that's wrong. Because no one came to the immediate people, the 35 people that signed that petition. No one came to us and asked us anything about the project. And we feel that that's, that's just excluding us out of the total picture and just allowing us to be about nothing. We don't count. But we've been there 24 years. And yes, there may be some support letters, but those people don't live in the neighborhood, the majority of them. And that's wrong. And we have to make sure that our word and our speech is heard in our community because we live there, we love it, and we're not leaving.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Rivers. Yes, next comment. Name and address for the record, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Erlen Williams. I'm at 1795 to 63rd Street. This is my home here. I would really, I'm not sure who I need to address it to, but I would like to know why it was showed, you know, like on the website for Birthday Beautiful. What was the significance of
You have to
it?
address the chair now.
Oh, I'm okay, I don't know, okay. I just kind of want to know why they chose to, you know, put the picture in there. Okay, the fence is leaning, there was a tornado, you know, my house was hit. Okay, right here, what was significant of showing this tree? You know what I'm saying, like we have a slum neighborhood, we don't. This was from the tornado. There's a tree on my fence from the tornado. To me, it was, I'm not sure, but it was kind of to make the neighborhood look bad and they're gonna bring it up. It was already up. So can you guys ask them the purpose really of the tree? And it wasn't explained, it was from the tornado, like it's just been there for years?
We're gonna take finished public comment.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. Are there any other individuals present? Yes, ma'am.
Are we allowed to give comments if we didn't apply to?
Pardon?
Are we allowed to give comments if we didn't ask prior permission?
Did you sign in, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, yes, if you sign in to state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Valerie Greentree, and I am here representing the Mount Zion Baptist Church at 1508 71st Street. Our pastor, the Reverend Dr. Myers, William H. Myers, and our executive pastor, Dr. Crystal Walker, desperately wanted to be here this morning, but they were each blindsided by some of these illnesses going around. So they asked me if I had the opportunity to speak on behalf of the leadership of New Mount Zion Church, who enthusiastically supports the proposal of Birthing Beautiful Communities. We have been a Huff neighbor since the 1950s. We were the first new construction, I believe, after the Huff riots. That's our commitment to the neighborhood. Our commitment is to the moms and the babies, the families in our neighborhood, that they should not walk in to deliver a new baby and fear whether they will be valued, whether they will be respected, whether they will be believed, whether they and their new baby will be celebrated. They certainly should not walk in and be afraid that mom, in the process of giving birth, will lose her own life or her baby, or that they will walk home with empty arms because of the death of a baby. And so we stand alongside our neighbors in this neighborhood that is the epicenter, as Birthing Beautiful Communities said, of this pandemic of Black infant and maternal mortality. And so again, just on behalf of Dr. Myers, Dr. Walker, and New Mount Zion Worshiping Community, we stand heartily in support of the Birthing Beautiful Communities project.
Thank you, ma'am. Any additional comments in the room presently? If you've already gone, we're gonna start with individuals that have not gone. Mr. Hargon, name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, interim chair.
Yes.
Khalid Hawthorne from Ecos Foundation. First of all, recognizing the comments that the union has made, Huff is going through a period of another period of growth and transformation. A lot of changes are happening within the community. We've sat down with people in the community, heard their concerns on different occasions. Individually, Birthing Beautiful as well has had several outreach efforts as well. We've had a sit-down meeting with the immediate neighbors of this facility, and to try to get to those challenges that come with every project within neighborhoods, making sure they're a good neighbor. And so, of course, the typical items as far as lighting and visibility and safety and things of that nature. Some of the things that came up in the letter written by Mr. Cook. And those are things that will be a continuous conversation going on as far as how when the facility is not operating who was able to linger in the parking lot and things of that nature. That's something that is an issue throughout the community, and that's a safety issue we have. Police efforts and things and other efforts that we can have to address those issues. But when I look at globally, as far as all these changes that are happening in Hub, we will continue to have these conversations. They're good conversations to have. They're conversations about education, safety, new people come to the neighborhood. You guys were new people at one point in time in the community. Welcome to the community. And hopefully Burton Beautiful will be welcome to the community as well. When we look at these communities, we look at community assets, and we hope to look to Burton Beautiful as another asset within the Hub community that would be, serving, yes, a Hub need, but also a more global need as far as the city of Cleveland and beyond. So submitted my support for this effort. Hopefully there will be continual conversations, there will be continuous conversations. They committed to those conversations. And so hopefully we'll be able to move forward with this project.
Thank you, Ms. Markle. I do not see any hands raised. Xavier, is that correct? So make sure I'm not missing.
I don't see any online.
Okay. So Commissioner Sargent, do you have a comment?
I just want to let the gentleman know that the
We're
time for
closing.
public comment is
Yeah.
closed.
We are gonna close public comment at this time. We do not have anyone online that has indicated they want to provide public comment. I'm gonna turn my attention to Director Wong to direct us through the next portion.
So I did want to turn things over to Kim Scott to walk through any design review feedback or procedural timeline, any background. And then after Kim goes, I can answer the question about the photo, as it's part of our process, and then I do have some comments as well. So I wanted to see if Kim Scott had any additional comments for design review and process.
Good morning. It's still morning, yes. Commissioners, director, and guests. So the last design review committee meeting that this project went to was on November 16th. It was approved conceptually. The only comments that were made was about the facade materiality, and that the designer should study that for more opportunities for something I think that is more connected, well connected. And then the team was asking for schematic approval, but we wanted to confirm what the zoning allowed to. And so the one thing that's unique about this project is the fact that we are in the midst, as you know, of having the form-based zoning codified. And because of that, we've looked at this project in a number of different ways. We've looked at it through the lens of complying with the existing zoning, as well as with the form-based zoning that is on the table. And so the committee did agree to just a conceptual review, I'm sorry, a conceptual approval. And that is where we left it. And those are my comments. Thank you.
And through the chair to the community member who asked about the photo of your home and the surrounding context. So that's a requirement of any design review submission, is to provide any contextual photos as a part of that. So everyone typically looks at the neighboring properties, the existing site, and every presentation that comes forward, as you've seen today, had those contextual photos. So that hopefully answers your question. I do have a few comments. I do believe that the applicant has made the case for why the siting works for this particular use and mission and project. They did show a map that showed the different institutional and nonprofit buildings that are along the corridor already. It is one of the busier corridors in our city, especially on the east side. Between Chester and Carnegie, they have some of the highest traffic counts and probably opportunity corridor. And so the siting of the building does make sense from a traffic calming perspective, as it is already established too, as there are multiple commercial properties in the area. I do want to just say, I think the mission of the organization should be commended, but as it relates to design, birthing is one of the most sensitive times that a person can have. And for mothers, it's actually when the brain changes the most anytime in your life. Speaking as a mother myself, that is something that I personally have experienced. And so the design of such a place is so critical because the physicality of your space impacts your birth experience. And to that end, I do believe they've really thought through the design elements, the natural elements, the colors, the tones, even all of that provides the type of psychological calming when it is such a stressful experience overall. I also do want to say that the height and the massing is appropriate for the neighborhood, that it does not tower over any of the existing buildings. It is mindful of the forms around it, and that I think it's been mindful as well of what textures and forms that might come from Black architecture and architectures like that. So I did want to say that I personally support the project and believe that they've done due diligence with that. Of course, there's probably some more to do with regard to the site and landscape and all of that. So I'm excited to hear what the commission has to say about the design.
Thank you, Director. I know we have a comment here from Councilman Sun.
Yes, to begin, I think it's important for us to remember that design review is about design and not use. I know historically there's been precedent for that getting inflated before this commission. I think that under your leadership, Director, we've been making more of a concerted effort to make sure that we're not allowing positions on use to essentially allow the planning commission to start to merge into the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals to the degree it's necessary for any project. So I think that I've got to ask some questions about the design. Now, I think it's true that elephant in the room is that there is a proposed zoning change, which is another legislative process. But my read of the current zoning code, it's true that this is a residential district, but within multifamily allows for public libraries, private schools, kindergartens, daycares, fraternity houses, hospitals, sanitariums, charitable institutions, as long as they're not within 15 feet of an adjoining residential premise. So I understand that there's a zoning change. I'm a little unclear on the necessity for a zoning change in order to accommodate this project. And I think that it's very likely, and my understanding is that this can happen within a multifamily district. The question is more about then the design of understanding the proximity to adjacent properties. So I think all that being said, we're here about design. There are some questions about the use, but I do think there's a very strong argument that this is allowable just by right. With bearing that in mind, I guess my questions are, and to the applicants, sort of in no particular order. Is there a rendering of the rear facade? I'm assuming this is off of Chester, just so we can be reminded that if you are on an adjoining premises, kind of what is being seen. And could you speak to one, the landscaping plan and hopefully an ability over time along the property line or within the property to have some trees that are more, maybe a little higher than typical ornamental that do create more of a visual green boundary, one. And then two, could you speak to the determination of needing 35 parking spots? It feels like a lot for a building of this size. I'm sure that it's not. Is that to the zoning code? Is that to the needs of the property? Just because I think there's always an opportunity to have a little more green space and a little more parking. I think that is a kind of a shared value we have.
So in terms of the back of the building. This view here shows what that looks like. Again, wrapping those materials around that we see in the front to the back is very important. There are on the back side of the building, like internally, these are more the back of space houses, mechanical room, elevator shafts, things like that. So we are able to start to limit views out. You know, there's concerns about privacy, and we're respectful about that as well. So this is more or less, again, I think it's still very attractive, but very mindful of how that interaction takes place. Also, you can see a hint of a canopy for the entrance out that location. In terms of trees and landscaping, so yes, I'll go back to the landscaping. We are seeing conditions photographs was that existing very narrow tree lawns, very narrow sidewalks. We are going to be increasing the tree lawns to 6 feet wide, sidewalks to 6 feet wide. I want to make it more comfortable for people that are walking with their strollers coming through, you know, really being able to accommodate that as well. We do need to be cognizant of things like utility lines. So there are some overhead lines that are on Chester, mostly towards the west side of the site. Down, there's less on that east half of the site on Chester, but we'll be incorporating some new street trees. Yeah, we'd love to do street trees on 63rd Street, but we're going to leave that tree lawn in its existing condition, and it's very narrow and it's not going to be supportive for trees there. And then we will bring some new trees along 65th Street as well, and some smaller scale trees in the parking lot, parking islands around that courtyard space. As you saw from the photographs, there were some older growth trees that were damaged from tornadoes. So those will be, of course, taken away. We haven't embarked on our, or I should say, we started the tree preservation study, but we don't have the report just yet. We know we are going to be well beyond the goals of the tree preservation requirements in terms of the amount of trees that we will be taking back and planting on the site. We're still kind of massaging us the landscape requirements again, really just with the form-based code trying to stay up to trying to, whether we end up moving this project through the code is wanting to meet the intent. So there are a lot of specific screening requirements as well.
And the park.
And then the parking. So the form-based code itself has no parking minimum requirements. The existing zoning at multifamily 2, I would say that we are, I don't have the exact numbers, but we are a little bit below what those would require. We know that Burning Beautiful currently has 28 staff and is looking within the next few years to grow that very likely to about 40. That would be, and I believe the birth center staff would be in addition to that. So birth center staff would be in addition to that, patient visitors. So I think we're towing the line, but I don't think this is by any means a situation where we're over parking. If anything, it might be a little bit on the low side. We do know that the Cleveland Foundation has plans in the next few years for district markage. So, our hope would one day to be able to create a safe connection across Chester in that garage. That way, there is more, off-street parking for likely for staff, us visitors. Again, knowing that, especially in the third floor space, that's going to be a little bit more of a communal space. There could be additional visitors, events, things happening here.
Thank you. If I guess I'd like to just explore if there's any ability to even just narrow the driving lanes slightly to create a little bit of, especially on the northern property line, a little bit more space. So there's this kind of paradox in Huff where, so every year as the Ward 17 council representative, I'm told that the city's not planting any trees in Ward 17 because we're trying to prioritize parts of town where the tree canopy has really been diminished, Huff in particular. But then the city's only doing right-of-way trees, runs into the exact issue you described where Huff has more narrow tree lawns, the preponderance of overhead power lines, and there ends up being no opportunity for the city to plant where it is desiring, and then I end up with like the orphan trees, that they couldn't plant. So that being said, I really think in this part of town, if we wanna meet our own tree canopy goals, we need to be finding the space on the private property. So if even by pulling that area down a little bit more, you can, it's not restricting being able to turn and turn out, are you able to plant something that's more like a maple or an oak that is, I think, would over time grow, serve as more of a barrier, lower your utility bill, and kind of contribute to that aspect of public health, which is one that we've struggled with kind of in this hot midtown area, just because there's not a lot of real estate for trees. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm gonna channel Lillian Curry. Just wanna be cognizant to commissioners, if you do have additional comments, we do have a few additional items today to cover. Very, very, very valid points.
Madam Chair, I do have one question. Was there any other sites considered for this project? And I have to direct.
Any other sites?
Question to me? Okay, I may also yield to the applicant, but I believe there was one site on East 66th Street, directly on 66th Street, but those didn't work out for various reasons. They were actually in the neighborhood, or I would say further inland in the neighborhood. And one of them simply wasn't large enough to accommodate the program. The other was, there's some confusion about if it was in the city of Cleveland Land Bank. We kind of dug into it. It turns out it wasn't.
Any other comments?
I have a few things. Number one, I think, in my short tenure on planning commission, there's been a few projects that have such a significant and unique impact within the neighborhood. And to the councilman's comment, I think, the use is the design. As a designer myself, we design for the use. They're not necessarily something that can be split. So the fact that, again, this use is, I think, of a paramount need in the city of Cleveland, and the design is a marriage of that, I think is pretty successful. I just want to comment on some of the comments that were made in the public portion. Again, the mission is the project. So again, the idea that this was cited there is because, again, the neighborhood, as noted by the applicant, has that need. So these two things are not necessarily things that can be looked at separately. I think, again, in no way did I feel like the applicant in their presentation diminished the character of the neighborhood. They talked about historic character that they wanted to honor and kind of uplift, and talked about this idea of transition in regard to amenities being provided to the neighborhood, and wanted to be a part of that. Some of the notes of nuisance in regard to foot traffic, psychological stress, security, or unlawful sale of controlled substance by pregnant mothers, I think is absurd. I think it's absurd. And I know, again, we're here to talk about design, but again, these things are to be talked about in the same breath. To get to the site plan, that's clear. One thing I'd like to see explored more is the kind of courtyard area, seeing if that can be sheltered a bit more. It's kind of sandwiched in between two parking lots. Wondering if some of that lawn area directly adjacent to the building, there might be grading challenges, but if we can do some, some work to kind of shelter that and make sure that that passage doesn't feel like you're just looking at cars or headlights, and things of that nature. I think to the comment that was made in design review about the materiality of the building, I would love to see like I want to say a more detailed render of the facade, so we can see what that wood looks like. It just looks like, kind of a color block paneling right now, but I would love to see how some of those ribs and things are coming together, to actually see what that materiality is looking like. I think to the director's comment, using some of those tones that I think are more akin to maybe things that you would see in kind of African design, or things that like David Adjaye would do, I think is a big win for this project. Again, it's a unique form, and then it's a unique material palette, and I think a win for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, I'm gonna ask that we entertain a motion, and please keep in mind the two conditions that were recommended by design review, please.
I motion to approve with the two conditions recommended by the design team.
We have a second?
I'll second. Sorry, Chair, did you want to include your?
Oh, and the comments about the courtyard design and additional representation of the facade treatment with regards to materiality.
Second.
Michael, can you call the roll, please?
Anthony,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
We're gonna invite back in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like.
I don't think so. I was just saying.
Yep, how about, are we gonna do the parks piece too?
It's up to you.
It's up to you. It's either we go through the agenda, we probably don't have lunch, or we choose. Because it's noon, so it's really your call. You decide, think about it while we do this. Let's do the murals next, just to help you guys. And we have a former commission member here, so we would like to first Sammy, we don't have to swear you in, you're forever sworn in. No, just kidding. All right, so let's jump to, I think it's page 15, which is Cobra Murals, seeking final approval at 217 West St. Clair and 12, is that a thing? And 1213 Prospect. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while. How are you? Good.
The commission has been a while, I know. Happy to be here though, so thank you for the time this morning. Make sure I get this right. Been right? All right. So, good morning. Happy to be here on behalf of Graffiti Heart Partnership with Downtown Cleveland. And we're here to present our 10-year anniversary mural project, which will be launched next year, about the May-June timeframe. The project scope is 2 buildings downtown Cleveland. I'll get into the specifics in a bit. But in total, we're approximately 16,000 square feet of wall surface. Both of the buildings are located downtown, one over by 217 West St. Clair, which is right near West 6th Street in St. Clair. The second building is the CMA Servicing Building on 1213 Prospect Avenue, right near Prospect and East 14th Street. So the project, Graffiti Art, for those that are not aware of Graffiti Art, we're a nonprofit. 501c3 was founded 10 years ago next year. It's our official 10-year anniversary. We've been able to execute over 60 public murals, mostly in Cleveland and the surrounding area, as well as a couple in Puerto Rico right after the Maria storm. It's a grassroots organization with very little funding and grants. Mostly it's through our commission projects and through our fundraising efforts. All volunteer staff organization. For next year's project, we will be introducing Eduardo Cobra. Cobra is an international artist, very well known in the street art landscape as far as doing large scale murals across the world, including the US. We have a budget set, which is pretty lean, but we like to try to fit as much into this as possible, including in-kind donations. So we will do most of the fundraising ourselves. And we're again looking at the May, June timeframe for next year to launch these two projects, for these two murals. This is a little bit about the artist. I won't get into all the details, but again, over 30 years of work in his career. Started as a child, about 11 years old, doing murals and doing art. And he's currently on the road now, so it's very difficult to coordinate things with him. So we're working directly with his managers and artist teams. These are some sample works of Cobra. Very similar in the type of medium that you'll see. His art is typically depictions of faces and people specific to the area that he is performing his installations. So he does research of the location of the community in advance of his sketches. And the last one here is in New York. New York City. Well, so there's a few in New York. I think there's some in Cincinnati, but not in Cleveland. So this will be the first opportunity to bring Cobra as not only a placemaking opportunity, but also as a destination location for Cleveland. So the first wall, and as I go through these, I notice it's a public forum, but I'm going to ask that as much as possible that these photos don't get distributed widely. I know that we can't control that %, but it could be a deal breaker for the artist given the proprietary nature of the piece, and until he's able to come to Cleveland and perform the installation. First wall, K&D Garage. You might be familiar with this beautiful canvas here. That's right around the corner from here. This is located right in the, as part of the 55 Public Square. The wall itself is masonry. It's already painted. It will be painted again with specific type of primer on the artist's behalf to ensure that the piece of art lasts and is able to adhere properly to the masonry. There's some views from West 3rd and St. Clair. Some aerial views right here. And this is the rendition of this wall. So it's basically a rock and roll theme with artists that have been inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A diverse mix of artists. There's one actually surviving artist on here, Wanda Jackson, who is the kind of the rockabilly genre, where that came from. All these artists before have performed in the area, but these are the artists that were selected both by Cobra as well as aligned and approved by K&D and Graffiti Art Board. So we're really excited with the link to Cleveland, both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well as their performance in the history at Cleveland as they toured. And so this is what it would look like on the wall in question here. So it's a pretty large scale piece. We're really excited about this one and to tie to Cleveland in the home of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The second wall at 1213 Prospect Avenue would be the second piece, which was actually added afterwards by Cobra, who proposed it based on his research in Cleveland, and it has to do with this wall, which we selected, again, in partnership with the This is right around the corner from the theater district. It's right on Prospect, right near East 14th Street. It's already painted. It's beautiful canvas. Once again, there's some of the landscape views from the streetscape. Aerial view, see it's right around the corner from the heart of the theater district. And this is the proposed piece by Cobra, which was given to us without request, and we fell in love with it. Basically, Tom Hanks has a history with Cleveland. He started his career in Cleveland when he was an intern for a couple of years in the 70s with Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival. And so this has some depiction of some of his movies, including Castaway, Toy Story, Forrest Gump. And this is how it will be depicted on the wall as a second wall on 1213 Prospect Avenue. That is our presentation.
Is it paint?
It's paint. Yeah, it's mostly aerosol. There's some bucket paint, mostly aerosol.
Okay. And sorry if I missed it. The maintenance.
The maintenance. So we'll do the Loxon base. And after it's painted, we're going to have some anti-graffiti on the bottom portion, and then a UV coating over the entire piece. And then we have agreements in place with both building owners for maintenance should anything be impacted, destroyed, or damaged.
How long is the maintenance? Meaning, like, how long is it intended? Did these remain up to 5 years, 10 years?
Well, the agreements with these, building owners is more limited than that. It's 2 years.
Okay. But the hope is it remains.
The
but
hope is it remains.
Both
and-
are two.
And, we have a vested interest to ensure that they stay vibrant
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So, Sarah, do you want to provide comments?
Yes, thank you. Good morning or afternoon, question. Thank you. Sarah Pinterest Public Art Coordinator. These murals were both approved by the Downtown Flats Design Review Committee on December 7th of last week. They did approve with condition that they did approve a plaque for identifying signage explaining the content of the murals and, the artist we placed adjacent to those murals. And the other condition was relative to the location of West Third and St. Clair, is that the project must be approved by the location is connected to 55 Public Square, which is receiving historic tax credits. Hopefully that won't affect our ability to get this mural done. And KMD's attorneys are working closely with SHPO to get whatever approvals they need from SHPO. And I'm excited about this. I've followed Coburn for years. It's one of my favorite murals in the world. I think that these locations, especially West Third and St. Clair in particular, are appropriate locations to add a nice big splash of color and bring some more interest to downtown. And I do want to reiterate, I understand the sensitive nature of the artist's work, that we be very careful. I understand this is a public forum, and we're on YouTube, but I don't want to put at risk this getting out the artist residents and losing this opportunity for children. Thank you.
Downtown Cleveland Inc. also supports the project.
And we do have copies of both, agreements with the building owners.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I love large scale murals. No surprise that I love it, and it's gonna really bring that interest to those corners and buildings.
Thank you, Director.
I think it's awesome. Especially the first one, I think that more ways that we can be methodical about kind of rock heritage, I think is useful. I'm not typically one to even comment on art because I'm like a high functioning idiot, not an artist, but my only, and maybe I'm overthinking it. My only question is if it's worth thinking about on the first one, maybe swapping two of the people. If you swap like Aretha and Elvis, or like two singing at each other, and the first thing that I look at is like, there's the black people, there's the white people, like, is it possible to like not have like one wall this, one wall that? I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but it's just kind of a shared heritage. Maybe there's a way to do that in the art, but also with Elvis guitar maybe there's not. So just something to think through if it's worth thinking through, and if it's not, don't. So there you go.
I appreciate the comments. We actually, and that's a good point, so we'll take it back to the artist and I swapped Aretha in to substitute a different artist. They were all guitarists. But Aretha Franklin, I saw her when she came to Cleveland, and she's the first female to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, so I thought that was really important.
I think it's great.
Well, life is a box of chocolates. I just want to say that.
Like
That's irrelevant.
Potato head?
Yeah.
All right, is that a motion? Did I-
Yes.
is that a motion? We have a motion to approve and a second.
Second.
Was motion, second,
Denise.
for both murals, right?
Yes.
One motion is fine? Okay. Any other comments?
Yes.
It's the SHPO condition, can someone just bring that into the approval?
Okay. Well, you would like to basically add that it must be approved by SHPO. I don't know if we need that for us, because
For
they
the
either
owners,
need it or
right?
they don't, but if you want it, it's fine. But, are you okay with design reviews comment?
Yes.
Okay, with addition of the, design reviews conditions,
Concerning SHPO approval.
are you okay with that? Second. We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Ray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. These are awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how soon will they go
Really
in?
good.
How soon?
We're still trying to schedule probably end of May and through June. It's gonna be a big artist team coming in too.
Could
Yeah, do you
we-
wanna take these back, Tommy?
Do you mind, if they're saying how much the budget is? The budget?
Their budget,
The budget, yeah.
the whole budget, well, 100,000, but it's,
Each or both?
no total, but that's what we do. Completed with them.
Yeah. But that includes
A lot of in-kind, so we'll try to find housing for all the artists.
That includes all the materials, everything?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we have two mandatory referrals. The first one is ordinance number 13832023, designating American Gas Association Appliance Testing Laboratory as a Cleveland landmark. Where is Carl? There's. I had to get over there so quickly.
I like the wind.
He disappears.
Thank you. You said my name here. We're about members of the commission, Carl Brennan, Cleveland Landmark staff, American Gas Association Appliance Testing Laboratory. It is located on East 62nd Street, north of St. Clair Avenue, St. Clair Superior neighborhood. Although there is documentation earlier, gas stoves first patented in 1826, and is a more type gas for U.S. cities, and was 2+ gas appliance types. 1900 noted that there's comprehensive standards were needed, but how do you get rid of everything and use these standards? In 1915, the trend toward a national standard for the creation of fuel gas code. 1918, what we currently know as the American National Standards Institute, where ANSI was created, its precursor. Also in 1918, two associations merged to become the American Gas Association. The obstacles that they were facing, there was about 2,000 manufactured natural gas companies of all the different qualities, considerations, and gas pressures, and things that they had to do, so they needed to create this national standard. So these tests were being built to bridge all of these. Some companies in large cities already had created testing laboratories specifically for their local needs, but a central lab was needed so everything could match nationally. So it's from these earlier testing laboratories that the AGA took their inspiration. The AGA was created as a impartial, non-commercial lab operating as a non-profit central agency of standardization. And they were raising the standards of performance of construction, eliminating hazard and inferior types, among other things. Cleveland was chosen as the location for the lab due to its centralized location for manufacturers and supplies of both natural and manufactured gases. So the best location in the nation. The East Ohio Gas Company donated space. I don't want to hit on their campus, and the manufacturer donated equipment for the testing. Operation began in July of 1925 with the testing of gas tubing, and by October, testing had begun on gas ranges. That same month, Baltimore, Maryland became the first city to enact legislation specifying that all appliances sold or offered for sale must conform to the specifications of the AGA. In 1925, about 555 appliances manufactured in the U.S. gas ranges, water heaters, etc., but also all their different models. Throughout the nation, manufacturers use the Blue Star or AGA name as advertising material. The Blue Seal did not meet centralized high quality, but indicated the model complied with minimum safety requirements and would operate safely and efficiently under all normal conditions. So if you couldn't afford that higher priced model, you could still ensure it was safe. From its opening in 1925 through December 31st, 27, the lab approved nearly 7,200 models of gas appliances, with only 4 approved on the first attempt, and still had about 40,000 models to review. Increased demand needed increased space. So 1927, the AGA merged with the National Gas Association of America as the industry transitioned to natural gas over gas manufacturing. The Osborne Engineering Company was founded in 1892 and is the oldest engineering company in Cleveland. They are the architects and engineers of record for the building. They're most well known for creating more than 100 sports stadiums throughout the country. The new building just south of the East Ohio Gas Company on East 62nd. 1928, testing services were extended to the Canadian Gas Association, they went international. This is not just for lab employees, visiting manufacturers could also use it. This allowed for refinements in design at the lab and consultation with testing engineers. Testing included construction, performance, and prescription. Over the next 4 decades, contributions to the gas. Over the next 4 decades, contributions to gas products and safety would be great. Testing on the mixing of gases, 50,000 separate tests to determine gravity and heating value variations, hundreds of major research processes and incidental investigations. Appliance did not need to meet these standards that they were voluntary. However, with cities following Baltimore's lead, compliance was achieved through building or repeating codes or required by utility companies. 1930, the program expanded to include a West Coast branch. This inspection station had all the same services as Cleveland, but it was saving manufacturers money for shipping it to Cleveland and then back, so they can get everything done before actually shipping it to Cleveland for that final certification. Like many companies, work turned toward military support during World War II. Technology developed at the lab, including mask regulators for high altitude flying and new methods of gas meter repair to conserve tin needed for military use. The AGA was awarded a War Department Citation National Security Award from the Office of Civil Defense.
You can share. Hey, Carl, can we get the highlights through the rest of it? Maybe the building itself.
Yeah.
A little bit. Maybe the highlights of the gas explosion and then the building.
Gas explosion, there you go. That's how it visually survived.
Damn.
Repairs began immediately. Cornerstone was relayed. They wanted to do a 2-story addition, which did not come to fruition immediately. But in 1950, they were able to add it. That's the northern addition to it. They added another addition in 1960. They moved to Independence. This is a 50% larger than the current. Recently, 1998, the facility transferred to CSA International. After the AGA left, it became the development, treatment, and it's been bouncing around in LLCs from 2001 to 2022. And then it went into the Cuyahoga County Land Station program. The newest owner bought it, and during their cleanup, they had to remove about 50 dumpsters worth of garbage. Current conditions.
Are they supportive of this?
The owners have asked for it. They asked for it, and they have written and councilman is also supportive of this. And then they are going to be using this as a for their own business purposes and a community lab or community-based organization.
Will they be renovating it? Obviously.
Yes.
Full renovation.
That's it.
Sorry, we are so behind because you did so much work. And it's a super cool building. And it's a super cool story. And it's so nice that it's gonna get a life. Really. So I think, is this so that they can also get some tax credit?
Hope so. Actually, grants and such, yeah.
Both.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
3 seconds. You can pick, but, motion in a second, call the roll.
Anthony.
Yes.
Luther.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Knight.
Yes.
Sargent. Yes. Black.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have
Thanks, Carl.
one administrative approval. Take a,
Yeah, one more.
oh,
Mandatory.
oh no. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I see it. Ordinance number 13862023. This is authorizing the Director of Public Works and Community Development to enter into an agreement with Payasano Properties for exchange of property needed for the City Lake Park Investment Improvement Project. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, thank you very much. My name is Vicki Tippett. I'm representing the Division of Real Estate Mayor's Office Capital Project. We go on just going to these. So this project is for the City of Cleveland's Parks and Recreation Master Plan to improve the park. So the current Lake Park is located in the yellow area. It's outlined in yellow. The pink strip is the current entrance to the park off West 83rd. And what we're doing is moving the entrance north. There are 2 landing parcels where the blue strip is. And that area is, we're going to repurpose that for the new entrance to the park. Now, in order to do this, what we're going to do is the blue strip is going to be swapped with the abutting property owner for the little triangle of blue so that the entranceway is straight into the park so that we can add signage, landscaping, and completely redo the entrance to the park. Since we will no longer need the existing entrance, we're going to sell the pink strip to the abutting property owner so that he can expand his driveway to his apartment. Any questions?
I move approval of substance.
Second.
That's the landscaping.
Let's see. Okay, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Ms. Ray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slut. Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. We have one administrative approval. It's to vacate a portion of the street. It's just administrative.
I was possible. Vacate the portion of Detroit Superior Library.
Second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Ray Scott,
Yes.
McKnight,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slut.
Yes.
Motion carries. So to the director, we have probably 2 choices. We hear the Parks Recreation Plan and we reschedule our lunch together, or we go to lunch and we hear this one later. And I'm open to what everyone thinks.
I choose lunch. We've already dismissed Director DeRose.
Okay, well, there we go. All right, then, the meeting is adjourned.
Should I suggest that we officially postpone the Parks and Recreation Master Plan?
So there was no decision for that. That was just a meeting. So
Okay. I'm just trying to be right.
Today, you were. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good holiday. You're online. Bye.